I got in the Bloods when I was in the 6th grade. I had 2 kids by the time I was 16 years old. Well, not like the other average gang leaders. I got plenty of money. I got 4 or 5 cars. I got houses, and I'm only 16 years old. I'm right in front of the gun and get shot in this hand first. That's why I missed this finger. But I don't know a hit now. I don't know my little brother hit. I don't know nothing. Only thing I'm trying to do is save my brother. Knocked off this finger, knocked out this finger, knocked out this finger. Now, I remember looking over and seeing my little brother on the ground. I'm in the hospital bed. I just keep asking, like, where my brother? Where my brother? Now, I got this hospital gown on. So I go to the door and I like look out the door and like the police officer, he over there talking to the nurses. Look again, strike out running. Snatched the shit off and just went and ran the heads. If somebody wanted to kill me today, I would never see it coming because I've been in tour with so many different people, different cities, different states. I don't know when it's gonna come. So I gotta live every day of my life like, damn, where it's gonna come from. Tell people this all the time. I was more happy and comfortable locked up than I was free.
Hey, this is Matt Cox, and I feel funny with you being here. All right. And listen, just so for your information, I feel silly doing it. Okay. So don't think, boy, he took it natural. He's very natural. I feel silly. Okay. So I know what I sound like.
Okay.
Like, all right.
Just don't be an asshole the whole time.
I'm not. So is that I know how you want to come off hard. And I was telling my wife, I was like, you don't have a problem because I said, you're going to be telling stories and I'm going to be like, come on now. Did you feel bad about that? He's going to be like, Matt, Cox, stop it. Stop. It's all right. All right. Hey, this is Matt Cox and I am here with, I'm going to say Travis.
That's cool.
Is that cool? Okay. Hey, this is Matt Cox, and I am here with Travis Luke. He is a former, he is a former gang leader, in South Carolina.
Man, all the time we did together, I'm from Georgia.
Damn it. Let me try it again. I feel like, honestly, like leaving all the cuts in, like leave all that. Anyway, hey, this is Matt Cox, and I'm here with Travis Luke, and he is a former gang leader from Georgia. He and I were incarcerated in Coleman, I'm going to say the Coleman Federal Complex, because I don't want to say low. Right. That makes it sound like you're soft. And I don't want anybody to know, because I know. I ain't soft, man. I know you're. I get guy. So anyway, yeah. So we're gonna be doing a very serious interview, and I appreciate you guys watching. So check this out.
Hi.
So then Colby then plays some, does and then that, and then he'll cut this part out, and then it'll play, and then I'll be like, well, I'll do the whole, well, I appreciate you coming.
Okay. It's crazy though. This by the most Matt don't talk to me all that time we did in prison. He just usually let me hang out with him. I was just like a little shadow.
Not true. You don't even respond to text messages now. I text you 3 times and I'm like, bro, what?
I was still trying to figure it out. I didn't know if I wanted to break law or do right. So it's like, if I had break law, I didn't want to be your friend because you was doing so good. You told me where you was going. Because figure this shit out.
I can't trust Cox to tell him. I can't tell him nothing's going on.
Definitely can't
so
tell him
to go hanging out with him because that's not gonna go. They come to my door and be like, Travis, he did it. I don't know exactly what he did.
I couldn't convince you that I was a good guy while I was in prison, no matter how I moved. Just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, why these guys follow you around?
Yeah, what's going on?
I'm just going in the same direction.
Stop telling me you're here for tax evasion.
Yeah, I was a hacker. I can't say hacker because most of those guys that said he was enough for hacking was enough for
something else.
That was their cover.
Or they'd say fraud, which always irritated me.
Like, why fraud?
Bro, why would you pick fraud?
I hated that. I remember the counselor telling me, like, it's like 2,200 people on the compound. It was like 900 of them were sex offenders. I was just like, why am I here?
Listen, it's great. They're soft as cotton. When I'm one of the harder motherfuckers on the compound. This is all right.
Well, Matt, you had your demeanor together, like how you walking around the compound, just like, Matt might be locked up for selling guns or so. No. What your nickname was? When you was just like, oh, you guys have nicknames. I don't have a nickname.
I wanted to push chainsaw.
Chainsaw. So I'm just like, so you want me to we gonna hang out and just go like, this my boy the chainsaw. I'm not doing that, man. No, we're not doing chainsaw.
Who was it that called me chainsaw? But even when he said it was, I think it was K would like, hey,
I was like, I'm not doing it.
Hey, chainsaw. And it was,
The comments now, they say chainsaw.
they call me chainsaw. I've already told that story. I've already told the story that when I got there, I tried to when I went from the medium to the low, I said, I tried to push chainsaw. I said, but people were they weren't having it. They were like, nah, you're not a chainsaw.
I'm saying maybe it was okay for you to get a nickname, but like chainsaw just don't really give the nickname vibes. Like, so how did you earn a nickname? That's my
Bank of America. They had odds. Dangerous. I mean,
like chainsaw. Where the hell do you get chainsaw from?
Yeah, and it never stuck.
It was just not
too bad. Everybody had a cool nickname.
K chainsaw.
Even K wouldn't. He never would. Like, it took me forever to figure out what his real name was. He wouldn't tell me. He was like K.
I don't know K real name. But I knew K was just like, he wasn't this tough guy anymore. When he was hanging around with the little scorning little white guy with the glass, who I brought in as my editor, James Manning. Don't you know they called me into the office asking why extorting James? And I just like, no, he's like editing my books. And like, nah, there's no reason that he's hanging around with you. You're the leader of the gang. You got all this record. Like, he did this. Why are you with him? So like, he editing my books. And he was like, no, you got to be doing something. No bullshit. Police officer come back. He was like, hey, ask my people about you. Like, you really a gang leader. I was just like, shit. I just feel to go out to go left because they trying to figure out why am I with James. And really, James is really literally editing my books. He was my friend. Right. They literally thought I was extorting James. And he was just like, no, I'm not extorting James. James, my friend.
I think at that time, there was so little going on at Coleman, they started looking for stuff. Like,
yes.
Now they're doing sweeps and finding 200 cell phones. There was almost no cell phones back then.
It was like one or two.
Yeah, there's they find drugs. They've got people dropping off drugs on drones. They got officers bringing it in because all the officers that were there when we were there, they're gone.
I was just for to say they must got a new warrant because you remember they was doing. I just had one on the rec yard too. Somebody was shooting using the t-shirt gun and they were shooting the drawers over the fence. They locked us down and just made us walk in the middle and wouldn't let us on the rec yard. You remember them folks tore the handball court down and shot in the yard. Like, remember the yard was so big, they shot in the yard. Like, people
because they couldn't. Yeah, they eventually opened it back up though.
Mm-hmm. But they made it smaller though. You can't go all the way over by the handball
because they couldn't watch it. Right.
Right. People didn't play.
Yeah, I was just going to say, all those. So when COVID came through, almost all the officers, because they were making too much money, so they forced them like to take retirement, or they retired because there were so many officers getting COVID because it was so rampant in the prison. They didn't want to get it. So those officers, 90% of them are fat and old, and like they're like, I don't want to get COVID. I could die, and it's all throughout the prison. So they were taking early retirement. And which was good for the BOP because if you're making $90,000 a year, you've been there 15 years, you're making $80,000 or $90,000. You retire, we can go hire somebody for 30. The problem is the most senior officer at Coleman Low now has like 3 years experience.
Oh yeah.
So 3 years, he can't figure out. He doesn't know all the tricks.
Man, we was that you couldn't even steal a milk out of the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was trying to steal some apples or something, and the dude was like, "Oh, you're gonna take the lawnmower." I forgot what we would call the little manual lawnmower. We had a name for him. It's like, "You're gonna go out there and cut the grass." I'm like, "Cut what grass?" He was like, "You gonna cut from here?" I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. Go ahead and write me up. Call whoever you're gonna call. I'm not doing it. Get to the office. Get up there with SIS. Once again, they got this paper. "Oh, you're gonna sign this paper and say you're the gang?" "No, I'm not." "Well, we're going to get you out the compound, get an airplane, helicopter, boat. I don't care what y'all, I'm not in the gang. I don't care what my paperwork say. I'm not in the gang. I'm not charged with that. I'm charged with drugs.
Right.
I'm not in the gang." And it was just like, literally like trying to make me go mow this yak, either sign and say I'm in the gang or go mow the grass. It was just like, I'm not doing it either. It's just not happening. It's just not doing it.
They didn't have gas lawnmowers, by the way.
Flintstone. We called it Flintstone.
Yeah.
Not doing that.
It was blades. It's funny. So you could have blades on the lawnmower, but you can't have a gas lawnmower. So you would have to push these lawnmowers to cut the grass, and they had the inmates who did it.
And how being in Coleman, you got to think about it. We was in the middle of Florida. The heat was crazy.
Insane.
I'm not doing it. Call whoever you want to call them. I'm just not doing that. We can figure something else out. I'm not using this Flintstone. I'm not doing it.
The women in our prison, they used to take them home and
they would make knives out of. They break them apart, and they kick them apart, and they'd end up with a knife that's long, slightly twisted with a slight twist in it. Okay, so let's go back and start like at the beginning. Like, where were you born in Georgia?
Yeah, I was born in Alabama, Georgia. You know what I mean? Back when I first jumped out the porch, I was about, it's crazy because the first time I got into it with the police or whatever, got caught by the police, I was like 9 years old, and I was with some older guys, and we was trying to get into some girl windows.
Right.
Police ended up coming, we ended up running. Of course, me being the younger kid, I get caught. So it's like my first interaction with the police. After that interaction, probably 2 years later, I was in the gang.
Well, so was your mom and dad? I mean, how many, brothers, sisters? So I have any brothers, sisters? Yeah, were your mom and dad together?
No. My dad, it's crazy. Like, my dad was in prison like my whole entire life, to the point where he finally got out, and I was in a restaurant with some of my other brothers and sisters, and he was just like, because now that we got to think about it, I've been in state prison. I was always in jail, so both of us is always in jail at the same time. So he was just asking who I was. He didn't even know who I was.
How old were you? 20.
I just met him. I just met my father. Just seen him in person for real when I was about 37.
What was he in prison for?
First time when we was 3, he went for murder.
Right.
And then the last time he went for robbing a bunch of places, just doing the whole.
So he did a murder bid, got out, reoffended almost immediately, and went back in. So I never, this is the most time now that I spent with being around my father. Okay.
You know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you, like, my mom and my grandma, like, mind you, I just said I got in the game when I was 11. And the crazy part about it is I was kind of forced into choosing a game, because by all being so small, it was just like predominantly Crips and GDs. And there's another local gang that was called CME Rattlers. So the neighborhood called what? CME Rattlers.
Okay.
CME stand for crime, murder, execution.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the neighborhood I grew up in was most predominantly CME. So it's just like I didn't want to join and be with them because I didn't want nobody to tell me what to do. So I just like, okay, I'm just gonna chill. So I ended up becoming blood.
Right.
Crazy thing about it, I became part of a renegade set, which means that the set wasn't official. But by the time from 11 to probably like the age of 16, like I'm raising all types of hell. I'm getting into it. Funny shit, right? I used to, because I knew I was gonna lose the fight. It was just no way for me to lose, because the Crips, the GDs, and the CME Rattlers was the most predominantly gang in our city. So I was young, I would just drink. I would mix Mad Dog and Paul and Son together before I go out to the team parties.
You were what?
I was mixing Mad Dog,
okay,
2020, and Cavassier, or Paul and Son, or ENJ, whatever, whatever I got, I would mix it together so I'd be drunk by the time I get to the party. So if I lost the fight, I wouldn't know till the next day.
Right.
Because they was going to jump on me. I was always getting jumped on.
Are you going to high school?
Yeah, I was, okay. So by then, I was probably about 9th grade.
Okay.
So I got in the game when I was in the 6th grade, which made me, so, okay, let me back up. Let me back up. So I got in the Bloods when I was in the 6th grade, which basically, like I said, was a renegade set.
Right.
Most of the guys that was over me started going to prison for murder and all types of shit. They just started going to prison. So that really just left me. I turned into a whole nother situation. So the gang just started growing out of proportion. But before we get to the gang, it was just me. I was like the only blood in my city against other gangs. So in order for me to win the fight, or either just psych out, I guess you would say, I just get drunk before I go out to these team parties.
Okay. Were your brother? Did you have 2 brothers? One brother? How many brothers do you have?
So my mom had 4 kids at the time. I got 2 brothers and a sister and me.
Okay.
But my mama's best friend ended up passing, and we ended up having 2 more brothers to be added to. She took over basically adopted them. Yeah.
So that's 6 kids living and your mom's raising 6 kids.
And it's 5 boys, 1 girl. But we got a close knit family. So when you grow up poor, the best thing for all family that connected to stay close to each other. So we all lived on this one street called Hickory Lane. One street. And my mom, my grandma, and my 2 aunties all stayed on the same street. So shit, if my mom might have a pack of meat, My auntie might have some mashed potatoes. My other auntie might have some rice. Another auntie might have some macaroni and cheese. Shit, we're going to get together. We're going to put a meal together. We'll feed everybody.
Right.
So it was like, yeah, my mom was raising 6 kids, but my aunties were there too. But it was no male figure. So what that left for me be at a young age, which pushed me to the streets, was I was the older male figure. My grandmother raised me.
Even though you're just a kid.
I was just a kid, you know what I mean? But I'm the older male figure. Like I can remember being probably, had to be still in middle school, and I would work at the store in the community. Now at the time, like I don't join the game, but I really ain't doing some like selling annihilators and shit for money. You know, like I'm hustling candy. Cause I'm working in the store, yeah, I'm hustling. Yeah, that's how the shit started. Yeah, I see how you smile. That's how the shit started. I started selling candy. Annihilators 2 for a quarter. Yeah, everybody liked the banana flavor. And like, speaking of that hustle, I used to mix sugar and Kool-Aid. And the crazy thing about it, my grandma used to help me do it. So I would mix sugar and Kool-Aid together, bag it up, and I would just tell the kids at school and make them run faster. And I would say
that it was what?
Make them run faster. I would mix sugar and Kool-Aid. It was just make them
right.
But I would mix sugar and Kool-Aid together. Just bag it up, take it to school, have candy. I would have candy, sugar, and Kool-Aid. And I would go to school to sell it. And
so what were your brothers? Did your brothers join gangs or?
That's the crazy thing about that is, right? So my brothers didn't really join the gang until later in life. I single-handedly,
later in life, you're like 13 years old.
Yeah.
How it's later in life? I mean, when they were 15.
But you remember now, I'm from the hood, so we grow up fast.
Right.
Like I'm telling you, I was a kid at the store. Said I was working in the store, and instead of the man paying me, I would get boxes of sausage and rice, and I would take it back to my mom. Loaf of bread, you know what I mean, or whatever the case may be, I'd take it back to my mother. So that's how I helped feed the family. Like you said, so at a young age, I was already becoming a man. So that forced my brothers to grow up fast too. Because they looking up to me. I don't know.
Yeah, everybody's got to contribute. Everybody has.
They got to contribute. You know what I mean? So they looking up to me. But really, I wholeheartedly put my mama, her kids, my auntie, their kids, my other auntie, her kids, and my grandmother on my back when I was like 14 years old, which led me to selling drugs. Like it started with the gang shit, like I was selling annihilators and all that type of shit. But they sent me to the school called Westover High School. Mind you, Westover High School is like the predominant school in our community. They did some rezoned or some shit like that, and they end up sending me to Westover. So I get out of Westover, so I'm like, okay, probably could sell drugs here. Like, I mean, I'm like in the 9th grade, like I probably could sell drugs here. So
why couldn't you sell drugs at the? Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Well, why was it easier to sell drugs there than where you were going before that?
Okay, so
there were other guys there selling, or
you know, for the most part, is in the drug. If you dealing with the other side of town was money, they pay more for the drugs.
Okay, so that area had drugs. I mean, that other area had more money.
Had more money.
Okay,
and that's what they sent me to high school at.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like between then, it was like I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was trying to work. I was working at the store. I was doing all this other shit. But by the time I made it to 9th grade, I kind of figured it out. I was going to sell drugs.
Right.
So I literally went across the street to the guys that sold drugs across the street from me, and I stole their drugs. And I went to school to sell it.
You just stole it like went in their house and stole it? Or they didn't know?
Hide it outside. Most of them hid their drawers outside.
Okay.
And I knew where they hid them at because I stayed directly across the street. And to them, I just was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm outside dribbling the basketball.
Yeah.
Like,
he's probably, they're thinking you don't even paying attention.
The whole time I'm watching. So I end up stealing his drugs, going to school, selling them, coming back and spending the money with him.
So to buy more drugs.
Buy more drugs.
Yeah. Well, that's reasonable.
To buy more drugs. So that's what
circle of life.
The circle of life. You know what I mean? That's what all started at. But what made it so easy for me to make a lot of money, sad to say, it was my grandmother was just like, it's consequences behind your actions.
Right.
So if you go, I know you're doing this, just be able to sell the consequence. So my grandmama really never just like, don't sell drugs.
Right.
It's like, fuck it, like you bringing money in the house, it is what it is. So,
well, I was gonna say, I like I've done a lot of interviews, and you talk to somebody like, listen, even my wife, it's like, she's like, you get to a point where you got a drug addiction, you got 3 kids, and it's like, and even if you had somebody to watch the kids, you can't feed those kids working at Walmart.
No.
So she's like, but if you sell drugs,
that's worse so bad then. You got to think about minimum wage back then was like $3, $3.20 per hour or some shit. And I can say that like my mother, my grandma, my aunties, like none of those people, like use drugs. I can't even remember my mama like drinking or none of this shit. We just had poor financial literacy. Like nobody knew how to make money.
Right.
It's like, okay, we're gonna work at all these restaurant jobs, daycare and shit, really not making money when everybody got 4 or 5 kids apiece.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm the oldest male, but I'm living with my grandmother, but my mama stay a street over or down the street. We always stay close to each other.
Right.
So my grandmother, like when she found out, she knew I wasn't gonna stop. That shit was out of the question.
Yeah.
So I used to literally sell drugs all night and then go to school the next day, but I would sell drugs through the air condition of my window.
Right.
But by then I had graduated selling crack, which we got to think about it now. So I'm born in 84. At that time, it's probably 89, something like that. So I'm like 14 years old. You know what I mean? 14, 15 years old when I start really selling crack. It's crackheads everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You could just walk outside and just sell.
Yeah. And then they're doing anything to get it. And
it was crackheads everywhere.
Yeah.
They was everywhere. So that's where it clicked. Drugs was gonna be the way.
So when you go to high school, you start selling at the high school too.
Yeah. I was selling mostly marijuana and coke at the high school.
Right.
They got me out of high school fast. I was out of high school probably,
Why?
I was man, let's just say by the time I made it to high school, I was getting suspended probably out of 30 days because you have to build up the 10 days. It starts with 3, then 5, then 7, then 10. By my first semester, every time I was suspended for 10 days. Like my mother, she kind of was always like, he ain't doing nothing wrong. My grandmama knew like, oh no, this fucker, he's breaking law.
Right.
So my mama would send me to school with $2. Mind you, now I'm already selling drugs, but my mama don't want to accept that.
Yeah, she didn't want to see it.
She just like, shit's not happening. I'm just like, I don't even need these $2. Like I got money. But she would send me to school with $2. $1 to catch the bus home and $1 for lunch. So if I was lucky enough to stay to lunch, I had $1 to eat lunch with. But 9 times out of 10, I was getting suspended before the door and she just was overcoming to get me from school. Just like, put him on the city bus. I'm not coming.
Right.
She's just not coming to school. So I was getting suspended. Shit. Every time I made it to school, sometimes I didn't even make it past 8 o'clock. I was suspended again for 10 days.
So what are you getting suspended for? Fights?
Fights.
Okay.
Arguing with the teachers. I was just, every day, I just did all. And then it got to the point where the principal was just like, he was just out of my ass. So anything I did, it was 10 days.
Yeah, they're trying to get you out of school.
You sleeping in class, it's 10 days.
All right.
You chewing gum, it's 10 days.
Get you to a point where you can't even keep up with the work, and we can just get rid of this guy.
Yeah, that's so we just got rid of my ass.
Okay, so when was the first time you got in trouble with the law, other than getting caught for sneaking in the girls' windows? I
was about 11, 12 years old. First time I got in trouble with the law.
Okay. No, I mean for being out with the guys sneaking in girls' windows.
I was like 9 years old.
Oh, okay. So what was 11 for?
I was just fights.
Okay.
Just getting into fights.
When was the first time you got in trouble for dealing drugs?
I probably made it. I did pretty good. Well, that's an mistake.
I had a good run. I had 18 months.
Yeah, I had a good run. But I think the first time might have been they sent me to how old? About 18. I was about 18 years old the first time because I remember. No, I was 17. They sent me off
because of your juvenile.
Yeah, when I was a juvenile. No, when I was a juvenile, I had 6 counts of terrorist threat with acts. Then the drawers came a little late.
Why?
So, okay. So this how we led up to me getting arrested for the terrorist threat act. So I get into a fight. When I told you I used to do all this drinking, and I would go to the club and I would get into these fights.
Right.
So I get into a fight with these guys. I end up winning. They come through my neighborhood, hanging out the window with guns and all this shit. But back I didn't give a fuck about guns. So I ended up running down the street, chasing the guys, throwing bricks through their window. My younger brother threw a brick through the window. They got guns now. They parents put the police on me. Remember I told you I went to a prominent high school. These was the guys that went to high school with me.
Okay.
They mothers called the police on me, and I went to jail for 6 counts of terrorist threats.
Even though they're driving through your neighborhood shooting or just hanging out. They weren't shooting. They were just hanging out.
Hanging out the window. And I never forget it. So my mother, my grandmother, what really made me nut up is because my daughter I had 2 kids by the time I was 16 years old. and my first, I had my first daughter when I was 14. She's 24 now, so I had my first daughter when I was 14.
It explains the sneaking in the girls' windows.
I started real soon. Real soon. So that what made me act out. They came through the neighborhood with the guns, and my daughter was on the street, and it sound bad because I was in the house playing a video game.
Right.
Okay. I was in the house playing a video game, and they came through with the guns, and my mom, my daughter, and my mother, my grandmother, they was sitting on the porch, and that just made me psych out. And I ended up getting arrested for 6 counts of terrorist threat with ads. So they never went to jail.
How long did you get?
I ended up dropping the charges.
Oh, okay.
I went, they locked me up, and my bond was like $30,000. And so we had to scrape up the money to get, but at first they didn't want to give me a bond.
Right.
Because I had been in so much trouble doing this little bullshit when I was a juvenile. So when they finally got me as an adult, they didn't want to give me a bond. So they made me sit in there, they ended up dropping the charges. My mama had to bond me out, like $30,000 bond. And my mama ended up dropping me out. He ended up dropping the charges for that. But right after that, I was arrested for the drugs. So if my first drug arrest, I'm literally 2 houses down playing talk on gambling. They keep in, I'm watching it like, it's crazy because I'm sitting there watching them pull up. It's like a video like, damn, they finna run in my house. But they ran in my grandmother's house. They ran in my whole family's in the house.
Had you been caught on like a controlled buy or something?
No.
Or just somebody else got caught and said, that's the house, I get it.
That's where, it was an older guy. Like I was the kid in the neighborhood selling drugs, and it was an older guy, I forget his name. He set the drug unit to my house, which once again, they was already after me because of the gang shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was already raising all type of hell on the gang shit. So it was like, okay, we got opportunity. Let's get them for this. They run into the house. They find some crack. I think they found crack and weed in my grandmother's house. So I had to like walk down the street. They had my whole family on the ground. My mother,
poor grandma.
Whole house, grandma was like, no, can't say poor grandma because I'm gonna tell you something about grandma. Mind you, I gotta go back. Remember I told you she had on accepted that. All right, he's selling drugs. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So it got to the point. More forgive me for this. She passed in 2015. Forgive me for this. But my grandma was my business partner. So yeah, so she was just like, so what you saying this for? What you saying this for? So it got to the point where I started opening up other trap houses, and since her house was where I started it already had people coming in.
Right.
So she was selling weed, she was selling crack, and she had cigars and all. So she was like my business partner. So no, poor grandmother, nothing. So some of the crack they got was probably hers. I just took the charge.
So when the cops had them all laid out, you walked over and said,
yeah, this mine. Everything mine.
Oh, I was thinking, I'm glad you guys finally got her off. She's selling crack in this neighborhood. Camper Grandma, it was about time.
I'll tell you, and my grandma, man, my family was so crazy. That's during this same time, I never forget, like some neighbors, I was gone. I was at the other trap. My grandma had this spot. So the neighbors, they got into it with my family. My family is big as shit. Like everybody, you go to Albany, Georgia, say Luke family, they gonna know who it is. So my family big as shit. So I remember this one time, they get into it with another family. And I get a call like, this lady just pushed her grandmama down. She's the what? I fly over there. By the time I get there now, my family already whoop their ass. They don't just bust out their folks' windows, all type of shit. But I got to get some of this too, because you don't push my grandma now. There's no way I got to be able to tell I did what I did. I run in these people's house, do all kind of shit, right? They uncle come back. He's standing in the backyard. He's shooting a gun in the air. Oh, okay. He gonna play with this. I run in the house. I get the gun. My mother, she's trying to stop me. She's like, no, don't do it. My grandma was like, shoot that fucker. My
grandma's a gangster.
Straight up. My grandma was like, move out of his way, shoot that fucker. So now, it's just like, that's all I needed to hear. Like, it was fuck the consequences, forget what could happen. My grandma said shoot. So I'm tussling with my mama. I end up breaking away from my mama. The only reason why I end up not being able to shoot the dude is because it was dark in the backyard he was shooting at. So just like I'm just shooting wild, just shooting in the backyard. But I didn't ever hit him. Make a long story short, the police comes.
You realize this isn't normal parenting advice, right?
I just told you my grandma was my business partner. My grandma was my business partner. That was my dog. So my grandma ended up taking charge.
Are you serious?
Look, the funny part of My grandmother, my auntie, they end up going, I run immediately. I'm out of here. Cause I already on probation and all type of shit. I run. They gonna give my grandma a bun. So now she crying. They funny. Well, now she crying cause she don't get a bond. So now I gotta go like pay the lawyer to get her a bond and get out of jail. She came on, she looked me straight in the face like, I'm not doing this shit again. Like, you going to jail. And telling you now, I'm just that I'm not, somebody's gotta take a charge from this side. I'm not going. So like my grandma was my dog, like, so it's not normal parents' behavior. That was my business part. That was my business. My grandma look your daddy in your face and be like, oh, he shot such and such. My grandma be like, nah, he didn't do that. He was here with me.
All right.
Going damn well I went down. She would look them folks straight in their face and be like, he was here with me. Knowing I did it. So that was my dog.
So what happened? How did the gang, I mean, you started off, you said it was just like you.
Yeah, it was me.
Well, clearly it didn't just stay you.
No, that's something I could have never calculated. Being in Albany, Georgia, you know, you got to think about it. Back then, the gangs was more prevalent in New York, California. Like it was trickling down to the southern states. You know what I mean? It really wasn't that big, but we had gangs, but it really wasn't like it is now.
Right.
So by me being just really the only person in the beginning, that how, what, you know what I mean? By the time you met me in prison, I was over Georgia. I was over the G-Shine Bloods in the state of Georgia. But in the beginning, it just really was me. And the crazy thing about it was we had this thing called 7-5. So 7-5 was what was the gang known in Albany. It was crime, murder, execution, CME. Then you had me, who was blood. 7 was CME, 5 was what blood stand for. So I really like had to like link up with them because I grew up in the neighborhood.
Right.
I just chose not to get in their gang, like because they already had a leader.
Right.
It's just like, nah, nobody's not telling me what to do. I'm smarter than most of these guys. You're not about to tell me what to do. I already watch how y'all move. I'm not doing that. But I got to become affiliated at some point because I'm in the streets.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to be a target.
No, I don't want to be a target. And to be honest with you, I seen the power in it, which, you know what I mean, I get into after I tell you a story about the gangs. Like, I seen the power of having an organization, which was the drugs for me. See, I could see where it was gonna be, where it could go with having that type of power. So I didn't want to get up under somebody else local and have them basically dictate how I go. So, like I said, I became blood when I was in the 6th grade. You know what I mean? My older brother, which was basically my adopted brother. You know what I mean? Named J-Rock. So he was my big homie. Him, some more guys, I don't name their name. They were the big homies. Some of them started going to jail, and some of them got scared and just did what we call get back on the porch, which left me out here by myself.
Right.
But me having good sense is I can't lock in with the Crips and the GDs. That's just not happening. Bloods does not rock with Crips and GDs. It's not gonna happen. So here comes CME, which is I was already friends with them because we grew up in the same neighborhood. We was all from the same neighborhood. Some of my cousins was even seeing me. So that's where I end up making them like my allies. Like we got the same enemy, which was the Crips and the GE. But in the beginning, it was just me. And it just exploded. So
what, I mean, when you say exploded, like is this like guys are coming to you for drugs, you're selling them drugs, and then you say you really need to be a part of this, about part of my organization? Or are they coming directly to you and just saying, hey, I want to be a part of this organization?
So my younger brother, which is the one got killed, I don't know if you remember me telling you a story about how I lost my brothers, which we'll get into a little later. But my younger brother, he basically did the recruiting. I won't even say recruiting. He was the gatekeeper. He made it okay for people to want to be in our gang.
Right.
Me, I was always kind of like, they would bring me people and I'll be like, nah, he ain't that. Like, he don't need to be part of this. You know what I mean? I was just real. I would have been cool with having 5 or 10 people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I know now if I got 5 or 10 people around me, I know what everybody gonna do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you can keep an eye on.
I could keep it. Yeah, I could keep an eye on 5 or 10. But my brother, my younger brother, he just was just like the gatekeeper. He just was bringing me all these people. You know what I mean? My other brother, which is my brother that I got with me, he ended up bringing a lot of people around. You know what I mean? But I was always like, nah. It's some guys right now that leaders that I was just like, nah. I can't vouch for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm gonna say around the age of 16. That's when the gang thing with the Bloods and Albany kind of exploded, and it was By the age of 16, I'm selling plenty of crack. I'm selling tons and tons of crack. I don't know how to cook crack, which we'll get into, but I'm learning how to learn how to cook crack. So my whole era, they looking at me like I'm not like the other average gang leaders. They don't got no money. They just gang members. Here come me with the gang shit, but I got plenty of money. I got 4 or 5 cars. I got houses, and I'm only 16 years old.
Right. So it's lucrative to be a part of that organization as opposed to the other organization.
Right.
But I can see why you would want people underneath you, because although they're always trying to kind of get the head guy, you also could be insulated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to a degree, but I also understand why you don't want to be the low man on the totem pole, because they're crash test dummies.
Right.
They're, you go do this, you go do this, and they're getting picked off, but the higher you are, the harder it is to get to you.
Yep.
Of course, the worse it is for you typically.
The worse it is. You know
right.
what I mean? Speaking of like, for one, but I was always smart. So I know you want me to, we're going to get into how the gang thing grew, but I was always smart because with my organization, it was all about the money. Like if you didn't bother us, we didn't bother you. But if you bothered us, I was going to always go the extra mile because I wanted everybody else to think twice before they come bother with us, because you can't get money and go to war at the same time.
Right.
Like it's just not possible for the streets. I always pushed the issue with getting money. That was always my thing, getting the money. So everybody wanted to be a part of my organization because they could tell we was getting money. Like I said, I was probably 16 years old. I probably had I had a Chevy with rims on, a Delta 88 with rims on. I had 2 Cadillacs. I had a short Bonneville rim. I had a convertible. I was like 16 years old.
Right.
I mean, 16, 17 years old. I had a convertible drop top 1975 Bonneville that I brought from a drug dealer that had been selling drugs longer than me. So it made it a little lucrative to be a part of my gang. So that's how the recruitment round up. But I wouldn't take it about it. So they had to go through went through my brothers.
Right.
Then my brothers were bringing to me, be like, hey, such want to be a part, and I'd be like, yeah, me. Because I wasn't really big on growing the gang. You know what I mean? Like it just grew organically. I wasn't big on growing it.
Okay. So at what point, like, do you think that you kind of came to the attention of law enforcement, or was it like a gang task force or drug task force where you came to their attention? Like, is there a point when like you go a few years before, or do they figure out pretty quick this is an issue and they start trying to target you in some way?
Let's just say, I'm gonna tell you when we started, but I'm the reason. Well, my organization is the reason why Albany and Georgia even have a gang task force.
Okay.
They literally went before the gang task force had the cars, before they had matching outfits, internet. They came straight to my house, straight to my grandmother. I never forget this shit. Like my little cousins, one of my little cousins killed my other little cousin. So what happened was they come by the house, and it's a bunch of little, all my little cousins, and they gang banging. They got these big nice ass guns. So like, what the hell y'all getting these guns? How old are these kids? Oh shit, they probably created the gang task force in 2007, 2008 in Albany. So I'm early 20s. They were probably 14. Cause I think my little cousin Bo just now, he was fit to get out, but the Fed picked him up. But Bo was the one, he made a mistake and killed. He was trying to shoot at somebody else and ended up shooting and killing our other little cousin. So that was my first time with the gang task force. But Bo, they come in the neighborhood and they got these big nice ass 9mm. I'm like, hey, I get these nice ass guns from. So we ended up taking the guns from them.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, hell no, you got this nice ass gun. Like some new shit. Like where y'all get these guns from? We ended up taking the guns, 2.9, never forget it, 2.9mm. We ended up taking the guns from them. And they ended up leaving. We think we got all the guns off of them. The whole time they got more guns. But where'd they get them? I have no fucking idea. I think they had stole them or some shit. I can't even remember where they get them from. I just remember seeing the gun like, what the hell y'all get these guns? Some nice ass guns. Like these are...
It's a broken somebody's house or something.
Now,
because
these guns looked new.
Yeah.
They looked very new. So I ended up taking the guns from, they ended up going like 3 streets over. And we hear gunshots. And I just look at them and it's just like, I bet you that's bold. I just knew it was them. I just had that feeling all the time. My cousin was trying to shoot at some more people and shot my other little cousin in the back of the head.
Fuck.
And you would think at that point, it had clicked in me, it had dawned on me that I need to do something different. But I couldn't think that fucking so much shit. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's so after that incident, it's so much more shit happened. After that, like shit just got bad. Like it was like somebody either from my side or the other side just started dying like every other week. Like shit just got bad. But I guess I don't know. I couldn't see it. But the gang task force, like I said, before they even became the gang task force, they sent them over there. Never forget this shit.
So real quick, sorry, what happened to your cousin what happened to Bo?
Bo ended up getting 16 years
for accidentally shooting his cousin. And he got 16 years in Georgia. So how much time do you do on that?
He did all 16. Yeah, he did all 16.
No good time?
No, Bo did all. But Bo, you got to think about it. Bo went in when he was young, and Bo became a guerrilla now.
Right.
Like he was already, cut from a different cloth.
Yeah.
So Bo was always tied up in something. They might have been said Bo did this. I can't say exactly, but Bo, they was linking Bo name to stuff that was going on in the prison. That, you know what I mean?
He got nothing coming in prison. He lost it because you get good time. He just lost all his good time.
He got sentenced back then for violent crimes in the state of Georgia. It was like 80-something%.
And so just before he gets out, he's about to get out.
The Fed pick him up.
Fed picks him up for what though?
Selling, I think it was either drugs.
Inside of the state prison.
Yeah, it might have been scamming phone. It was something. He would do, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was doing something they called a Fed case for it. In the Fed. I think he gave him like 3 years in the Fed. He's finna come on after 16 years after being locked up. He was like 14. Finna get ready to come home and the Fed pick him up.
I'm sure. What's the custody level?
Oh, level 5. A whole time.
So no. I mean in federal. So he's in a pen in Fed.
They're gonna send him to the pen. They ain't gonna send him to the pen.
I was gonna say he's like, I don't know. I was gonna say, sorry for doing scamming phones and shit in prison. I was thinking if they send him to a low or a medium, he's gonna end up learning. He's gonna learn some stuff that he's gonna get out and get. A lot of guys they get incarcerated for something minor, and then they go into prison and they get educated on some real things, scams to do. I mean, his is violence, but if he's doing phones, he might go in. I was gonna say this is a guy he's already made it sound like he's made his mind up.
Think about it now. He might go to a lower security prison because after 15 years. I think the feds don't use your charges against you. He got his charge when he was a kid. So I don't know. He may go to a camp or low. He may end up at a camp or low. Because to come to think about it, because he done in state time.
After that much time in prison, like you're not getting out just getting a job at Walmart.
No.
But I'm sorry. I was just curious. So he's gone. I mean, he'll sure get out. There'll be some barbecues, but that sounds like that story's written. So what happened? So after that, you said the task force, they came to you to say.
So when they come to the buddy, they look for one of the cousins.
Oh, okay.
They look for one of the cousins because at the time he ran. Okay. So when they come around, I never forget this shit. My baby mama stayed right by my grandmother's house. I told you my grandma, my business partner. So
right.
Gang task force immediately go to my grandmother's house automatically. I look out the window and I see like 6 police cars pull up and there's 2 police in each car. This is my first interaction with the gang task force. They jump out and they all stand in a circle with their backs to each other and they got assault rifles. Like I'd never seen this shit before. Like I'm used to just the police pulling up and getting out. Like they get out like marching.
Right.
Spread out. She don't just like looking out the window like, what the fuck is going on here?
What grandma do?
Yeah, I'm not coming outside. I don't give a damn what grandma did. I'm not coming outside. And then I think I had remember I told we took the guns.
Right.
So I'm already convicted felon. I got the gun.
Right.
I'm definitely not coming outside. That shit is over with. And that's when we figured out that we had already knew it had to be something with them. But that was my first interaction with the gang task force. But when I was in the 6th grade, officer, I forget his name, he just retired. The Kiki, they had this book, and they immediately knew what gang he was in. They made you put your name in the book. They wrote your name down in the book. So that was my first interaction with the police as far as the gang situation. I mean, but at that time, I don't think they knew. I think they think I was seeing me. They think I was a rattler because that was my neighborhood, but I was a blood.
So at what point did they decide that you were going to be you were an issue? You were in an organization. You were running. You were upper management. Let's say you were upper management, and that they were planning on that they were They would have liked to have taken you down as quickly as
When I was
possible.
about 14. When I was about 14.
Yeah, but by this point, you're 17, 18 years. In your story, you're still 17, 18 years old. I mean, you're now kind of putting together things.
But you remember, Albany, Georgia is a small town.
Right.
Like, it's probably 80,000 people there. And I'm already on the worst side of town, from the south side, from Albany, Georgia. You know what I mean? I'm from the worst side of town. It's poverty every fucking way.
Right.
But by then, man, I'm shit. I'm breaking all kind of law. I'm getting in all types of trouble by then. But I think that what got them just on my back is when they figured out I was a blood. They just knew I was in the gang. They thought it was CMB. They thought it was a route. It was one of the gang. When they clicked and they started, okay, blood, that's when the problem began.
So you think it's a problem because there's two gangs that are at each other, that's going to cause whatever shootings, that's going to cause friction. Like if there's one gang, they're saying it's not that big of a deal. But now that there's two, that's going to cause problems. See, is that what it is?
So
I don't understand.
They already knew that the Bloods would be the enemy of the Crips and the GD.
Right.
See what I'm saying? But so before then, it was just the CME Rollers and it was the Blood, CME Rollers and it was the GDs and the Crips. Bloods really had no name in the city. Nobody was worried about the Bloods. Nobody even thought about the Blood. When the Bloods, when they first caught on to what was going on with the Bloods, it was just me.
Right.
They locked straight in on me, but it was sore.
But I was gonna say, but now there's a bunch more guys. Like now when it gets to a point where there's 20, 30, 40, 50.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like at what point are they coming around? Are they there? Like, do you know they're targeting people? Like,
okay, I get the question now. Probably about 17, 18. They started really targeting us.
Okay.
Because I think 08 is when the gang task force itself was created. And we were their first target at 08.
Right.
07, 08, something like that. Well, I'll be the first at their first gang. War task force.
So what are they doing? Are they, just because I've written other stories and I interviewed a bunch of guys and I was gonna say, like, I know, from talking with them, actually, and from talking with law enforcement, like they'll go in and they'll start, even then they know the structure because they've already grabbed somebody.
I already know the structure.
So then they'll start grab like the low man on the totem pole and try and get them to start flipping so they can start building a case and move up the chain of command to get to the main guys. So, is that something that you saw happening? Like, hey, these 3 guys got busted or these guys got busted and then these 4 guys got busted. Like, do you know that's happening? Do you realize are you conscious that this is what's going on or you're not even paying attention to it?
I think, the way they attacked us, it was more militant. They just ran, basically, they'll run straight into them.
Right.
You know what I mean? But as far as like guys start going to jail and start getting picked off, that was like late on. Like beside me getting locked up, hand out for the drugs, we had a good run before they was able to start locking something was up. Outside of what happened with my little cousin Bo and the guys that was so called over me before when the gang thing first started. When I told you, so my older brother, he ended up getting like 30 years for murder. You know what I mean? Him and 2 other guys, they went and did some shit. He ended up getting like 30 years for murder. So early on, it basically was just, I'm gonna say, 18, about 18, 19 years old when they just really started picking us off. I was getting drug cases, but as far as the gang shit, they ain't started catching us late.
Is there like tension, between, your gang and, and the Crips at that point?
Yeah, it was.
What is it? Is it just for territory? Is it?
This shit probably just out of boredom. Because it really, yeah, for real, because it really wasn't, like I just told you, like, as far as the territory go, you only need territory to really just making money right there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So really, they wasn't really making no money. It just was really out of border. You Crip on blood, I don't like you, fuck you, I see you, you kill me, I kill you, we fight, whatever the case may be. That shit really out of border. And honestly, I don't think because I lived this shit. We knew the logistics of being in a gang. Like, we didn't know. We got to think about it. This shit trickled down or trickled over. Trickled from Cali, trickled from New York. So the purpose of the game, that shit got already misconstrued by the time it got to us. We was given the knowledge, we was given all the shit that you needed to run the game, but we really didn't know what the hell we were doing. It still don't. That's why it's so much killing going on now, because, you know, the first rule of being a blood is do not allow your community to be oppressed. But what the fuck are we doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it taught, we didn't know what the fuck. We still don't know.
So
Yeah.
when was the first time you went to jail?
As an adult,
Yeah.
17.
For what was that for?
Terrorist threats.
Oh yeah. Okay. But they dropped those charges.
They dropping it. I like probably a few months later, that's when they raided my grandmother's house.
Okay.
A few months later, they raided my grandma's house, found the crack, and found the weed.
Right.
I ended up getting locked up, getting a bond. Then they ended up shipping. I went to this shit called the detention center. They sent me like 4 counties over to the shit called the detention center for 120 to 180 days.
In Atlanta?
No, it was like Moultrie, Georgia, some country, way in deep in the country. Worst time I ever done. No bullshit. It was the where I hated it. They could have sent me anywhere else. I hated the detention center. Like I had a 120 to 180, and I ended up like doing like an extra 30 days there for bullshit.
120 days?
Yeah, to 180 days. You know what I mean? Because that was my first drug case.
Right.
You know what I mean? The terrorist through X, I ended up getting, they ended up dropping that. So my first drug case was, like, they ran on my grandma. I found like a couple grams of crack and some weed. You know what I mean? Because they was in the wrong spot. My grandmother, yeah, that shit was over with. I had to start moving around.
I was just saying, have you ever, you've heard of Union City?
Yeah.
So I was in Union City jail for like 6 months. It was horrible. It was fucking horrible. It was a little tiny town jail.
They be the worst jails.
Yeah.
They be the worst jails. I'm like, well, this was like more of a, you should be in prison, but since this your first offense, we're gonna send you right here. And that's where they sent me to this shit called I think it was Moultrie Detention Center. Hated it. Worst shit though. The staff was fucked up. It was these. Oh man, it was the worst time ever. Out of all the fed time, state prison, level 3s, level 5s, all the worst time I ever did was right here because they knew that you had that 120 to 180. So we got 60 days to play with, and every time you do something, we're gonna take 7 days. We're gonna take 14 days. So they nitpick, they bother. You know what I mean? So that was just like the first time I got out from that. And like you just said something, and now that I think about it, you go in and you basically learn how to be a better criminal. Or you did choose to do right. I just came back out like I'm gonna sell more drugs.
Right.
That's when it.
Listen, I know guys that have gone in there and just got a whole new slew of contacts.
Yeah.
It's like they had two sources. They came out and it's like, I got a source that his source is this guy who has another source, who has another source, who has another source, who ends up dealing with the cartel. And I went to prison, and now guess what? I got 3 guys that are in the cartel I can buy from. So I just ended up with 2 or 3 different sources that are at half the price, at twice the quantity, and 100% purity. Like direct, like you just turned me from a guy that was never really going to be able to make more than $10 or $20 per sale to a guy who's making $200, $300 per sale.
Yeah, that
just like you just turned me into a distributor,
right? Because you know what? If I don't make it out of the medium high down to the low, I can almost guarantee I would have flooded the city with way more drugs than I ever did before. Because I still had the drug dealer mindset. And at the medium high, in the highs, that's where all the kingpins at. That's where all the Mexican cartel drug. Like I met a guy. He was like, I got caught for 2,200 kilos, and I was just like, he said it so casually. So now I'm interested in seeing what's going on. And he was like, yeah, we was bringing it over here on the boats and submarines and all this shit. So I got a contact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I could say his name like he passed, this Mexican guy in Boulder. He's like, oh, my auntie controls the border between this spot and this spot. I was just like, damn, okay. So how much you getting it for? You know what I mean? So if I don't never go to the low security prison and I stay in the high, it's almost a guarantee because I'm still around the same type of people that, you know what I mean, doing the same shit I was doing versus when I got to the low and then I met other white collar criminals, started learning real estate and all this other shit. But if I'd have stayed in the medium, I would have definitely sold more drugs because I was the shot caller for the Bloods and county sorter for Georgia when I was at Talladega Medium. So I was always connected to the other shot callers on the compound. And what were the other shot callers? Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, people, the top crook, the top GD on the compound. And most of them people, this would have been a better contact. I got rid of all the contact, by the way.
And that's yeah, I was gonna say the guys I was locked up. When I went to Atlanta City Detention Center, there were guys there that there were guys at Coleman that were from the cartel.
Yeah,
but there was a, God, I'm gonna say his name is Luco, or anyway, I can't forget the guy, the low, but I was gonna say there was a guy, they called him the Mexican Tony Soprano, that was at the AC. This was at ACDC.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, his cellie was a guy, like his cellie, he was with a guy for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And listen, this guy, he didn't have a care in the world. The Mexican, like literally, he just got like a 30 piece.
Yeah.
Haven't sent him to prison yet. He's getting regular visits. And you're like, well, this guy, he don't have a care in the world. He's watching TV. He's getting commissary. People are making stuff there. And one day his cellie's like talking about how his baby's mama's car broke down. And he goes, well, what's the problem? And he's like, well, I mean, she needs a new car, this and that. And he goes, give me your address. He goes, what? He said, give me your address. I got a friend that knows a guy that has a car lot. I'll try and get her a car. And he's like, gives him the address. He said, I don't know if it was the next day or a couple hours later, somebody shows up with like an Acura that was like 2 years old. It was basically almost a brand new Acura. Showed up, it was like, here it is, sign here. And when he called her, she was like, I don't know what just happened. This guy just showed up, signed over a car. He's like, well, how much is it? And she's like, no, he said it's my car. He gave me the car. Goes to the guy and he's like, yeah, you said she needed it, right? I mean, this guy had, and you know what, I found out what he was doing through another guy. They were paying guys in Mexico to fly over drugs. And then he was telling the DEA, at this small area right here, somebody's going to arrive with 600 pounds of weed. And he was, and so he's chipping away at his 30-year sentence while sitting in the, and they call it ACDC, in ACDC. So he's chipping away at his sentence, and he'd already been locked up fighting his case for 5 or 10 years to get to 30, and now he's chipping away. But he's paying the Mexican guys in Mexico, like, look, you're going to get caught with 600 pounds, okay? You're going to get 5 years. I'm going to give you a lawyer. You're going to get 5 years. Your family's going to get this much money, and they'll take care of you while you're in prison. You'll get out. You'll be deported.
You get 5 years. Yeah. You're going to do right 3 because we're going to put you into the RDAL program.
You'll be okay. But that will get me like 10 years knocked off my sentence. And then as soon as they do that, boom, I'll get another 2 guys come and say, look, this guy's got this much. And for whatever, $100,000, a guy in Mexico, he'll do it. He'll be like, 5 years in a federal prison? That's like going to like, summer camp.
Right.
Of course I'll do that.
Right.
And so that's what he was doing. It was, once I heard that, I was like, no wonder he's so.
No wonder.
And he's got tons of money. Listen, there's a guy in Coleman that was in Mexico. He did like 3 years in Mexico and then he had like 5 or 10 years in the Fed. And the whole time he had been locking up, he was arranging shipments to come over the border. He's still doing it. He said, listen, remember the big photo albums, the big ones.
Yeah, the big ones.
Like they didn't sell them when we were there. They didn't sell the big ones anymore. Nah. They sold the little ones. So these are hand-me-downs, right?
Right.
He had like 2 of the big ones and filled with photos of him in a Mexican prison. His wife's coming to see him. They're drinking Corona. He's got prostitutes coming, and they would come and stay for 4 or 5 days. Like you could come for 5 days, and then my wife comes for 5 days. Then I can't have a visit. That's a visit. 10 days, you staying with me for 10 days in prison, and then I can't have a visit for like 5 days or something. So I mean, he was insane. And then he actually showed pictures of the inside of his cell, and almost all the cells had these. They were like they were like Afghani rugs or Oriental rugs. And he said the reason he had them, he said, I put all those in because they were wrapping the drug shipments in the rugs and having them shipped, using them as So, I got tons of these things. I'm giving them away. So we said, hey, bring in some of the rugs here. We want rugs with this concrete tiles cut up. Like he had his whole cell redone. And at one point, there were bunk beds in his cell. Some of the pictures had bunk beds, and then suddenly one of the bunk beds was gone, the top bunk bed. And I said, what happened to the top bunk bed? because he had a one-man cell,
Right.
but it had 2 bunk beds, and they were in concrete. So I had to have that taken out. He said it was he couldn't speak great English. It was interrupting, or it was interfering. Like Pete knows it. Pete would translate. He'd go interfering. He was interfering. He was interfering with my fucking. Like, that thing's coming out and I'm fucking. But, this thing's coming out of the wall.
Right.
And, so it's like I told him, you got to get rid of this thing. So the guards had it taken out. But it's insane. The cartel had a whole wing of the prison.
Yeah.
They had catered meals. It was insane. This guy was in there. Hilarious. I mean, tragic, of course. But it was just like you go to prison and I always say that. Like I feel like I went into prison with a GED in fraud, and when I got out, I had like a master's degree. Like if I wanted to do something now,
without
way more dangerous.
Yeah, without that, way more dangerous.
That's the same thing with guys I meet.
Way more doubt.
Where you talk to them and you're like, well, where'd you get this contact? And they're like, oh yeah, well, I was dealing with these guys, but then I went to prison for 6 months or a year, and I got this guy, and now I was getting it directly from the cartel. It's like,
yep. Especially when you go to federal prison, you get to like the old mediums and highs. You run into all types of people, especially then because people watch your character. They look at you in prison, look at how you move, right. And they'll just approach and tell you, they just befriend you and start telling the story because they already be having a plan. They thinking the same thing we think.
Yeah.
They thinking the same thing we think. We looking for a plug, and they looking for somebody to give it to.
Right.
Because they got endless amounts of drugs.
Yeah.
So like, okay, he seems like a good guy. Let me lock in with him.
Yeah, it's a mutual relationship. Yep. It's not like they need people here, and they need U.S. people. Like they can send over 50 Mexicans, but they'll eventually get picked up. Like they need an American that has a distribution network.
That's it.
That guy's worth his weight in gold.
That's it. And I'm telling you, if I never get down to the low, I would have been that guy. Because it's all I knew. You know what I mean? I have been introduced into learning real estate and stock market and all this other shit. All I knew was hustle. All I knew was selling drugs. I had been doing this since I was a kid. So all I knew was selling drugs. If I never make it down to, I was just definitely would have been selling way more drugs than I ever sold. You know what I mean? Versus me getting locked up by the Fed for 5 to 10 keys of cocaine. Conspiracy, it would have been 100 to 150 the next round.
So what was the next thing? What happened? You had this network, the gang. You're getting more and more members.
Mm-hmm.
You're making money. Like, what was the next? Like, were there any obstacles? Things that came up? Arrests?
Yeah. So, we're gonna get into the meat of it, right? So when you first met me, I remember you asked me like, what happened with my fingers? You know what I mean? So by now, my little brother, my younger brother, the same one I told you that was the gatekeeper that was bringing everybody in, or
right?
Whatever the case may be.
How old were you at this point?
My little brother got killed because I got picked up by the Fed right after. So my little brother got killed. He was 24. I had to be around 27, 20.
You're 20. Wait, you're 26, 27, and that whole time you never got arrested. You didn't go do any prison time?
Yeah, well, I went to prison twice. Well, I went to the Tennessee and I went to state prison, but I was for the talk about my brother. But
okay, yeah, tell me about the state prison.
Okay, cool. So I was 23, I believe, when I went to state prison. I went to state prison for when I told you they raided my grandmother's house and got the drug. No.
Do you know how sad it is that you don't know what the different times that?
Because I've been locked up so much, man. So I went to state prison in 08.
Right.
In 08, I went to state prison. That was my first time really going and being in state prison. I went to state prison in 08. When I went to state prison in 08, I went to state prison because this is a funny story. I went to my baby mama's house to get some drugs, right? But I got 2 girls in the car with me, and I got my brother in the car with me. So I don't have a license. Yeah, we got 2 girls. Yeah, I go to.
I feel like that's just a bad. Bad call.
I used to send shit. And
like,
I seen the people. I seen the drug unit, but I ain't thinking they were for me because I was in a rental car.
Right.
So I'm not thinking that the drug unit following me whole time. These fuckers been following me all day long in armored cars.
Are you just feeling like invincible at this point? Is that what?
Definitely was feeling invincible. Because you got to think about it. By the time I make it 08, by the time right before I went to state prison, by now, I'm a household name.
Right.
The police don't even approach me the same anymore. They ask for permission to even approach me. Police is approaching me differently. I'm doing whatever I want to do. I'm not paying to get in clubs. I'm not waiting in lines. By now, I done became invisible. I'm a household name in Albany, Georgia. I'm Travis Luke now. So I go to my baby mama house. I get to the rules. I'm going to go serve a guy who was setting me up at the time. You gonna laugh at this shit, man. His nickname was Sleazeball.
Sleazeball? There's not a problem with him. He sounds like a solid guy. As we're dealing with these guys in prison, they like can't do right.
Right,
it's like,
can't do right.
Right. It's like, well,
can't get right and all that type of shit. So I'm going to go get some drugs from my baby mama house to go serve Sleazeball. But I'm seeing these little armored cars, but I'm like, man, it can't be for me because I'm in a rental car. I'm not in my normal vehicle.
Yeah, they'll never figure this.
Yeah, this shit can't be for me. It's for me the whole time.
No,
it's for me the whole time. And I could have got
those slippery bastards.
Man, I could have got rid of the drugs so many times because I'm kind of like, damn, if they follow me, so I'm making certain turns. I could have threw the drugs out the window at any point in time, but I'm just like, nah, this can't be for me. Boom. When I realized for me, I come up with a plan. I don't say nothing to nobody in the car. My brother's in the passenger seat. Got 2 girls in the back seat. I never say nothing to nobody. My brother, nobody. So by now, like, damn, they folk really are following me. They on me. So I make a turn on the street called Macoff. If you go down Macoff, it's a quick turn. So like it's a long street, then it's like boom, boom. So I'm like, okay, if I could lose it right here and get rid of the drugs, I'll be all right. So as soon as I turn on this street called Macoff, I hit the gas. Now the girls in the car, everybody looking like, what's going on? I get a little lead on the drug unit, make my 2 turn. I get out the car, tell my brother to get in the driver's side and try to drive out. But by the time he can get over to the driver's seat, they don't swerve in the car. But I done threw the drawers up under a parked car and got in the car with Sleazeball.
We'll see how many. He doesn't have any drugs on him.
So I'm sitting in the back seat. I'm thinking straight, like, shit, I done got the drawers on me. Like, where we go from here? They get my brother out of the car. They get the girls out of the car. They come and get me, Sleazeball, and the other guy to get all those out of the car. So I'm just sitting out on the ground in handcuffs. I'm thinking I'm straight. Well, no, the Sleazeball got no handcuffs on. He just standing there. Nah, but he just standing there.
Pretty cozy.
So this what he doing. He telling the police what the drawers say. Hey, they right there.
You think they put, just for appearances, they put the cuffs on him.
This story is bad. So boom, they look him. He get the drugs. They end up locking me up. I end up getting out on bond. While I'm on bond, go right back to selling drugs. I'm not stopping.
Right.
Stopping selling drugs, I go right back to selling drugs. So me and one of my other little partner, we in the car together. I think it was just me and him. I'm going to go serve somebody not knowing he's setting me, trying to set me up too. But I only got I got a small amount of drugs on me. That ain't a lot. You know what? Crazy thing about it, I don't want to give him something. I don't even want to serve him. I'll just give him something. He was fucked up, so I'll just give him something. He ended up pulling up at his spot. Police ended up getting behind us. I ended up jumping out I ate some of the drugs.
Okay.
What? I'm trying to get rid of the drugs.
Yeah.
Am I right on bond? Am I right on bond for these drugs for the first group of charges? And my first group of charges is crazy because they charged me with intent to sell on cocaine. Well, with the intent to sell cocaine, with the intent to sell weed. But the problem was I was by a school, I was by a project. So they added on
enhancements.
Oh man, had like 8, 9 charges. So boom. When we pull up at the spot, they end up swarming, I end up eating the drugs. This get bad. So they got to take me to the hospital.
Right.
So I'm sitting in the hospital. They trying to make me drink this stuff. I never forget it. Something look like Choco. I don't know what it was. So they trying to make me drink it. They don't have me hooked up to nothing. I'm just sitting in the bed and I got all these little monitors and shit on me. They trying to make me drink this stuff. So I end up drinking. So I'm sitting there. I realize I don't have any handcuffs on. I'm just sitting here. So now I got this hospital gown on. So I go to the door and I look out the door and the police officer, he over there talking to the nurses. I realized they watching me through the
yeah, they'll start going. If you pull them off, they'll
beep. Right. Huh. You know what I do? I peep again. It's like, it's no way these people trying me like this. It's got to be these people. It's not trying me like this. Look again. Strike out red. It's like, no bullshit. Haul ass out of the hospital, snatch the shit off, and just went and ran the head. So I'm outside in this park with a fucking hospital gown on, with no drawers on, no socks on. I just got on a hospital gown. I'm out in the place, cold as shit too. It's cold as hell. So I don't have a phone. I can't call anybody, but I think about it. Damn, I got an ex-girlfriend that live close by. I don't have any clothes, so now I got to figure out how the fuck I'm gonna get from point A to point B for what I find, which is probably 10 minutes. 10, 15 minutes.
On feet?
On feet. Yeah, because I can't call. I don't got nobody to call. And who am I?
You don't have a cell phone anyway.
And who I'm gonna run up on with a hospital guy and tell them to use their phone?
Right.
So now I'm running out airlifts, jumping fences. I'm just going all kinds of ways to try to get to this girl's house. So I finally make it to her house. And I ended up getting the phone call. My mom tell her mom what happened. She was like, turn yourself in. I'm like, I'm not turning myself in. That is not happening. You forget about me I'm not turning myself in. My grandmother ended up coming to get me. And I ended up being on the run from the police for the longest. Like they was looking for me for the longest. Meanwhile,
real quick, did you drink the stuff?
Yeah, I drank the stuff.
What does that do? Make you throw up?
It makes you throw up.
By this point, have you thrown up?
No.
Okay.
I throw up while I'm running. I skewed the part. I'm doing all the throwing up in the park. Is Tiff Park. That's the name of the. And the crazy thing about it is like where the park is, like the police station is like right in that area.
Right.
Like 2 turns we at the police station. 2 turns we at the police station. So I end up getting with my mom to create funny shit. My grandma was like watching me every day. Like, I'm like, Mom, what's up? She's like, you want to smoke crack? Why would you think I'm not smoking any crack? Why would you think that? Because I was high for like 2 weeks.
Because yeah.
Because I ate the crack.
Right.
So I was like high for 2 weeks. But anyway, I'm on the run and I'm still selling drugs. Like, y'all catch me. How we doing? I'm running from the high speed chasing. They end up the same baby mama house I just told you about that I went to go get drugs out of.
Right.
Me thinking I'm invincible. They can't fool me. I still got drugs in the house. So I'm leaving the house. They get behind me again. About the smartest shit I could ever did. When the drug unit get behind me from leaving my baby mama house, I take them in a circle, jump out the car, and run back to my baby mama house.
Right.
But I end up fleshing probably like 14 ounces of crack. I end up fleshing like a bunch of cocaine. And the crazy, this the bullshit.
Sorry. What happened to Sleazeball?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Sleazeball ended up getting in a motorcycle accident and messing his leg up bad, like his leg was dead or some weird shit. Like he's on crutches or some shit. Like, and I don't know what Sleazeball is to today. Yeah, I don't know what Sleazeball is to today. I don't know. I don't want to know it yet.
So, okay, so you were saying you went back, you flushed the stuff.
Yep.
Sorry.
So I'm flushing all the cocaine, all the weed, I'm trying to flush it. The fucking toilet stops up. Because I'm panicking and I'm flushing the shit. Everything's still in plastic bag. I'm a diamond. Instead of taking out of the plastic bag, I'm just ounce of cocaine out, ounce of cocaine, crack out the crack, just trying to flush it down the toilet to get rid of it. But the police, they never come in the house. They never come in. I don't flush so much drugs and flooded the house so bad that the water coming through the ceiling. You know who I had to call, right? My business partner. She come over, she take a hanger. She get a hanger.
Pull it all back out, dry it out, resell it. It's all going by that night.
Say what all we can say.
Yeah.
We were back into it, back at it. But I ended up getting caught going. That was my first. I ended up getting caught by them and ended up going to state prison. That was my first time going to state. They gave me, my first time going to state prison, they gave me a 10 do 5. No, 20 do 5. They're 20 do 5.
How does that work? You're sentenced to 20, you only have to do 5 inside. Then you're on paper for 15?
Before we started the interview, I told you I don't get out probation. I don't get off probation till I'm 43 or some shit. Yeah, so like when I got released from federal prison, I got released to state probation and federal probation. So I got 2 separate probation officers right now. I got 2 separate probation officers. So like
I feel like they don't trust you. I don't feel like they think you're going to do the right thing.
You know what's funny is later on we'll get into the story. So now you know that I do a lot of work with the kids and you trying to keep them out of game.
Yes.
The chief of police literally told me that. He said, we don't trust you. Other agencies don't trust you. That's why they won't work with me.
In RDAP, they would say that he's holding resentment. Holding resentment.
Man, listen,
you're not willing. You're not willing to trust. You're not. That's.
I hated RDAP.
No.
I'm really trying. No. Because you was a fucking manipulator, man. Like, you went out and had a good time.
Running that place.
I turned that shit down twice. Like, every time they call me down, like, you ready to tell her that? No, I'm gonna take it to another spot. There's no way I could take. When I knew I couldn't take art out, is when I think a guy got pulled up. He got rolled back because he came outside with his slides on.
Yeah.
Instead of his,
You can't do. What are you thinking? You can't do that.
I was like, you raised you back, like you're not going home. Oh fuck, I'm not taking. I know for a fact.
You were brushing your teeth and you didn't shut off the water. You left the water running.
Yeah.
Oh no. Pull him off.
I knew for a fact that. And man, just kind of stopped being my friend when we went to art up.
Listen, I had to pick my back.
What? So like I
got enough from my problem.
I'm like, what's up, man?
I can't talk to you right now.
Damn, man, what's up? I can't talk to you right now.
Nice. You walk around scared all the time. It's like
They be everywhere.
oh yeah. Listen, you did it right?
I did another prison. I was the man. I taught classes. I was the man. It was perfect. I had a cell phone. I was selling drugs. It was just perfect. The other people was perfect. I could have never pulled off at Coleman.
Remember the morning meeting when everybody's facing each other, right? Like guys are so scared there that guys are like, somebody would say something, they go, and they start to talk to you, and guys would be like,
Hell no.
I mean, it was like they're terrified.
The buddy system, you got to go out. They got to go out. What did I think with the buddy system? If one go outside, the other one had to go outside.
No, what was that? See, every program's a little bit different, you know. So
I was at Airfield. I loved it. Listen, I could have never finished Coleman. Never.
yeah, and never somebody told. Oh well, Zach was basically telling me like RDAP, like in like the pens and stuff, like. The whole pulling someone up.
Yeah.
Like they do pull-ups, but it's completely
orchestrated.
It's orchestrated together. Absolutely orchestrated. So
I started a saying in the art, turn a blind eye, get a black eye. Yeah, so just don't tell. I'm like, we know we need 2 pull-ups. We're gonna put them pull up together.
right.
We're gonna give you feedback. We're gonna tell them you're gonna read a book and you write a book report. If you just go and tell, you're gonna get a black eye. So turn a blind eye or get a black eye. Because they say, you get pulled up and turn the blind eye. If somebody do something, you don't pull them up. So he was like, turn the blind eye, get a black eye.
You're what do you do? You're off. I forget what they what is it when you? I can't believe I can't.
Oh, you forgot your favorite program? You forgot what? That's crazy.
I wrote a book about it. I'm gonna give you the book if I call it the program.
You wrote a book about it.
It's insanity.
Yeah, because it was like a whole nother community. Like it was like a prison inside of a prison.
Oh man, come on! It's when you're Don't
ask me.
Go ahead. When you're helping someone, you're actually enabling. Thank you. Yeah, you're enabling someone. Yeah, you would always know the orchestrated ones where somebody pulls somebody up. I noticed that your uniform isn't ironed today, or that you need a haircut, or you haven't been shaving regularly. You're not taking. And then they would have something, and everybody's like, "Come on, man, are you serious?"
You remember they used to make it, and this is cold. They do this at Edgefield. This one of the reasons why I knew for a fact I wasn't making it cold. When they listen to your phone calls and he was talking to more than one woman,
yeah,
and then they'll make you call and be like, tell the other woman, okay, I talked to this woman, like, what? No.
Yeah. Pull up. So they had a guy one time. There was 2 things that happened. One, guy's talking to 2 girls, working both of them, right? So they made him pick which one and call the other girl and tell her, I've been talking to this other girl, this other woman, and I've been telling her this and this, and I wanted to come clean and tell you the truth. And then calls the other girl and says, look, I've been talking to her, and I'm going to be with her when I get out, and basically kick the other one in the curb. Another time was a guy he got his time off. Like he's about to graduate and go straight to a halfway house. The girl had put a couple $1,000s on his books. To give her he convinced this chick to put a couple $1,000 on his books so that he had money. So when he hit the halfway house, he could get a phone. Mm-hmm. Now she could have bought all that for him, but he had her convinced because he was going to cut her loose.
Right.
Like, give me $3,000. She'd saved up money, sent him $3,000. And so the DTSs found out, listened to the call, probably somebody else told on him, but he was probably bragging about it. But they listened to the call, they brought him in, and they were like, you can get kicked out of RDAP, lose your year. You're definitely not coming back to this RDAP. So I don't know where you're going to do RDAP. So you just lost a year. You're going to do another year, or you give her the money back. Of course I'm going to give her the money.
Yeah.
Thank God you told me about that. I'm embarrassed I took the money to get with it.
Never took no. I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know.
I should have never took the money.
I would have been manipulative.
It was no way that I could have completed it on code. It was no way possible. That's why I never tried. Like they would call me until I turned that program out probably like 2 or 3 times. But Edgefield program, this best program ever. Everybody graduates.
Feel like you learned anything at Edgefield.
I really did learn everything. I really did. I taught classes. I was the teacher. I taught the material. I did great. Everybody graduated on time. Everybody went home. Everybody
signed the roster, even if they didn't come to class. Everybody
definitely signed the roster.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know the material, don't worry about it. I got you.
All right.
I'm gonna make it work for you.
That's how I taught the real estate class. You give me a coffee and 2 creamers, and you're going to pass the test. You're going to get the certificate.
Hey man, I remember when I was in that class, man, you used to talk so much shit to them people. I used to just be looking around the classroom like, I'm gonna just shut the fuck up, cause me and Matt gonna get the fight. Matt didn't say he that fast. I'm gonna just shut the fuck up. I'm just not gonna say.
They were there to learn. There was always some guys asking
challenging you like,
yeah,
why are you taking the class if you already know all
right?
It's like, why are you taking? And I'm just sitting there like,
listen, I was a gangster. In that class.
Chainsaw.
I was chainsaw in that class. That's like I always tell Jess, I said, listen, over the telephone, I'm fucking 6 foot tall. I'm a badass over the telephone. If you get in front of me, you're going to get a different version of Matt Cox. I'll be like, listen, I know, I understand. I can see how you're mad, but over the phone, I'm a badass. In that class, like I was king of that class, and they all thought, I'm going to learn, I'm going to get out, and I'm going to do this. So to them, this was a way to come up with a plan where they could make a bunch of money and not have to go out and sell drugs.
Yep.
And the other thing about that program too is, by the way, and I know you heard me say this, is that real estate is so funny because people in real estate watch this program. So they probably won't appreciate this, but it's absolutely true. In real estate and flipping houses is probably one of those few areas where being a drug dealer is a huge benefit. Because you know everybody in that neighborhood. You're not afraid to go in those neighborhoods. You're not afraid to knock on those doors. People will give you a good deal, right? Because they'll sell the houses to you. And they would, and a lot of times, and I've had this happen to me, where in those communities, a lot of times they would rather sell it to other black people within the community than to sell it to some white guy.
Yeah.
You know? So a lot of times you could get good deals.
Yep.
And you can help fix those houses up and flip them. So you're the hustler mentality of a drug dealer is to your benefit, because a 35-year-old divorced white woman isn't going to go knock on doors next to in a neighborhood next to the project.
No.
So it was one of those times where, and those guys could see what I was saying, right? Like the money, it makes sense. It's not that hard.
No.
So once you understand that, okay, so you buy it for this, you do this, you sell it, you make that, once you start kind of understand, you buy low, sell high. I mean, it's not hard.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, so those guys love that class.
Yeah, I love it. I think I took your class twice. I think I had somebody else to sign up for me, and I took your class twice. I had somebody else sign up, but you teach well. I think all the time that you was an asshole when they tried to challenge you, or they were just asking the same question. No.
Some of these guys would say just stupid shit.
I see it coming too. I just like me sitting there like, Matt might have said some bullshit.
Oh, well, there would always be some guy. There would always be some guy who I would say, so you buy the house for $80,000, you fix it up for $20,000, you sell it for $140,000, you make like $40,000, right? But you also have to pay this. And I start breaking it down. I go, so ultimately you end up making a profit of, let's say, $30,000. And there'd always be some jackass who would sit there and say, man, but then you got to pay taxes on that $30,000. Like, and so, and that was usually my response. And like, are you telling me that's your problem with this scenario, that you're afraid, damn it, now I have to pay taxes? Well, then go work at McDonald's, they go take the tax, have them take the taxes out. You can ride your bicycle to the room that you're renting. And so I had all these,
see what I mean?
Smart ass.
Yeah. See what I mean? I used to just sit there like, it's
but I mean, so like if paying taxes or avoiding taxes is your biggest problem, that's a problem I want to have.
Right.
I want to have a problem where I'm making so much money. My biggest problem is that I have to try and figure out how to pay as little taxes as possible. Like, that's not an issue. So I would say that, and of course, then the guy would shut him down, and this fucking prick, but he wouldn't say anything else again. Then I'm good, and I keep it. And I taught the class so many times that you have the same basic type of people,
Same type.
so they say the same stuff. So you have the same smart ass content. You get to be really good.
Really good at it. He definitely was real good at it. Real good.
Listen, I had guys that would walk out of that class and shake my hand. I had guys, when I was teaching in the medium, there were guys that I wouldn't look in the face. I was so scared of them. They were 6'3". They got like a 30-year suit. They've been locked up 20 years. And I'm walking by these guys, and all of a sudden I'd hear Cox, and I'd be like, oh, what? And they go, good class. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. And then they'd walk out of class. Like the next day we'd teach class, and guys would walk in and be like, hey, Cox. And I'd be like, yeah, what's up? And they go, hey, man, that was a good class. And I shake my, hey, okay,
Oh, because you definitely taught a good class. Even when you combined the credit, and you taught a great class. And I give you that. It's to somebody was asking them dumb ass questions.
The problem with that is the only time I ever had an issue, and then we'll get right back to this. But the only time I ever had an issue was where these guys would go. They would say, why are you telling everybody all this? Like doing the rooming houses or whatever, flipping out. They'd be like, man, why are you telling everybody all this? And they're going to go out and they'll do it, and then they're going to ruin it for everybody. And I'd say, what? First of all, do you realize I could tell 1,000 people how to do this? It's an absolute formula that will absolutely work. The truth is, what most people lack is the confidence to do it. They just
follow through.
Right. They won't follow through. They won't risk it. Most people have a multi-million-dollar idea within their lifetime. I don't know about you, but most people are not multimillionaires because they just didn't, they won't act on it.
Right.
It's safer to get a job, a regular job, W-2 job, and work that job than it is to say, hey, I have an idea and I think it'll work, and it's going to take a little bit of money and some time on the weekend, and I'm going to have to not watch that Netflix special. I'm going to have to work on Saturdays for the next 2 months.
Right.
But I think it will work. Most people will say, nah, man, I'm not going to do that. They're not going to risk that. It's too much.
But that go back to what you were saying about the hustling mentality. You know what I mean? Where the hustler going into the real estate market, how they could succeed. Because just for me, so with me selling multiple drugs, how I supplement that to keep me from going back to want to do that, because my addiction was the selling drugs. Like I just the kick that I got out of hustling the drugs. So now that's why I got into multiple different businesses. So I'm the opposite. I don't mind the time because I want to do it anyway. Like selling drugs is a 24/7 job. Like,
right.
You don't take off. You know what I mean? You could take off, but you don't take off. It's a 24/7 job. People gonna call on Sunday.
I was just saying, we talked to this guy who he's like, they'll call you at 1, they'll call you at 2:30, they'll call you at 3, they'll call you at 3:45. He's like, and you got to go every time because they'll go to somebody else. And
And once they go to somebody else, if the product is better, you dead.
Yeah.
So that, like, remember I was just telling you, I used to sell drugs out of my window. So we had the air conditioning window. We'd have central heat out, so we had an air conditioning window. So I would just slide the harmonica thing, So they knock on the window, I reach back, slide it back, be like, hey, what you want? I'm like, a 20. I'm so the headboard, pop a 20 off, get my $20, have them in crack. I would do this all night long. So when the other drug dealer was probably over there having sex with his girlfriend or ate the club, I was home. I wasn't old enough to get in the club. I did have girls on from time to time, but for the most part, I was right there. So that's how I exploded with the drugs, because I was always available. Then I kind of figured out early. So if you got a gram, you can make $100 off of it. If I can make $75, okay, I'm losing $25, but I can make $75. So I'm gonna make $25. But if I could do that this many more times, then I'm making the same money.
Right.
So I was giving bigger pieces than everybody else at a young age. So like you said, they start going to other people. That's why you got to be able to answer the phone and be there 24/7. By me having that window, I made so much money through that long window. While my grandmother was in the other room, made so much money.
So what happened when you went to jail on that charge? Did you do 5?
I did
5 less gang.
I did right at 3 years.
Okay.
Because in Georgia, you only do, it's like 30%, 40%. I supposed to got out early, but I got in trouble. I got caught. Okay, let's get back to the story.
Right.
So,
sorry.
I go to state prison. While I'm in state prison, I'm in Muskogee County Prison. You can look this up. I'm in Muskogee County Prison over in Columbus, Georgia. While in prison, I got a cell phone on detail. I was just out on detail. When they let me out on detail, it's like I was free.
Right. People are dropping shit off for you. No.
Why would you put me on detail at a nursing home?
Okay.
Who works at a nursing home? Women.
Right.
So soon as I get there on my first day, and they got this old thing for Philippines. He was from the Philippines. He was my officer, like the person who watched over. His name was Joe. I never forget him. He hated the system. So he was awful and the bullshit I needed to do. He was cool with it. Long as I didn't do it in front of him.
Right.
Just don't, I'm going to give you this one time. So Joe would leave at 1 o'clock. He would always come back at 3. And they had this we was on the nursing home, but they had this building where they had all the tools there for us to clean the windows and do all the shit that we need to do on detail. So Joe would leave from 1 to 3 on lunch break. We wouldn't do whatever else the hell he was doing. So I would have 2 hours to do whatever I wanted to do. So of course, while I'm walking around in the nursing homes and doing all this shit, I'm, iron women down. And I would, so I would write my phone number down.
All right.
On a piece of paper, and I would see what car they gonna get in. So in the morning we clean the parking lot up. I just leave my phone number on their window. Of course, they gonna end up getting the phone. They know it's one of us. It's only 2 prison guys that working the compound. I started dating like 2 of the girls. One of them actually came to see me when I got out of prison. So it was Tay and the other girl. I forget the other girl name. I ended up dating 2 of the girls. So from 1 to 3, I would fuck them.
Right.
Yeah. that was my time to do what I need to do. But the guys, the janitors they was getting mad about it because I was just leaving my phone. I didn't care. I don't know these girls.
Yeah.
In prison. So I was just leaving my phone. I'm on everybody's call. They end up telling them. So they end up bringing the prison guards over and they end up, shit was so fun. I see the prisoner come in, the CO come into the little building I told you we used to be at where we had all the tools and shit was. So I'm sitting there, I got a little bit of bottle Patron, I got a phone in my hand, and I got a sandwich. So
this does not look like inmate work release.
And I'm telling you, I was imagine, I said, your mind is something serious because I don't think I'm doing nothing wrong.
Right.
At this point, from 1 to 3, I'm basically free.
Right.
I don't have nobody watching me. I basically do whatever I want to do because I'm at a little county count. Because in Georgia, if you have a non-violent crime, 9 times out of 10, they don't send you to like level 5s and all that type of shit. So when the guard walks in, I got a phone in his hand, I got a sandwich in hand, I got some look on the floor. And he walks in, he's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "A sandwich?" He like, "Oh." "What's that in your ass?" So like, shit. I pop it. It's a flip phone. So I pop it. I literally walk past the guard. I slid past him and went and flushed it. Like, we either gonna wrestle for it. You already caught me for it. You already caught me with it, but I can't let you get this phone because I got these girl numbers and I don't want to get these girls in trouble.
Right.
They end up charging me while I was in prison, giving me 5 more years for the cell phone. But what they did, they ran together. So that's why I ended up doing like probably an extra 8-9 months or some shit like that. So
you act like it's shocking that they charged you. You had a cell phone, liquor, and
I wasn't in prison.
That's not.
Well, guess what?
He's backing you up, like he's shaking his head, like, yeah.
Well,
you're still incarcerated.
Guess what the argument was of the DA?
What?
On state property. So by me having it on me, I had the phone on state property because my argument was, I'm out on detail. I'm not in the prison. So it's like, I wasn't in, but they try to say that I'm state property, like the prison. They try to use me as the prison. Like, that shit don't make any sense. But for them, it made sense.
Yeah, I was going to say. It made sense to somebody.
For them, it made sense. But that didn't help. That shit, I think I stayed in. They ended up letting me go back out on detail. But at first, they made me work in the barbershop cleaning my hair.
Right.
So they ended up letting me go back on what's called a butter truck. The fucking flat surface. You take the jackhammer and bust up the concrete and, what the hell when you redoing roads? Like they having cracks and shit in it.
Yeah.
I forgot what the job called. But they had me out there doing that shit. And I was like, I'm not doing this shit. It's over. So I realized, it's like I walked a little bit one day, like, damn, I can kind of walk a little far. The guard ain't said shit. Now, but this side got a guard, they got a gun. It's a different situation. But he keep letting me walk up the street. It's like, he keep letting me walk up the street. I'm just testing him, seeing how far he gonna let me walk out. He let me walk out far enough. The same girl Tay that I met at the nursing home, I had her to meet me I had her to meet me, you know what I mean, and give me a little bit and walk back down. He was like, where you was at? I just walked down the street, get some fresh air.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm back now. What's up? What you need me to do? But I end up, it's crazy. Like I ended up getting out of prison for that, and I came straight home into a conspiracy. Like this conspiracy was already going on. It was like 2 years in by the time I came home.
You didn't get out and like get a regular job and no bull. You didn't start selling life insurance. No,
I BS you not, bro. And I true story. I come home. It's like April the 1st or some shit. I remember it being right at Easter. So they had this big old cookout, at the bottom. It wasn't for me. It was just for the citizens on Easter. And I remember asking like, so who run the city? And I'm like, who got the drugs? So I'm probably out about 2 days. But by then, like,
yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah, about 2 days. By then, I had somebody that gave me some drugs, that gave me some money. Like, but now I'm just trying to figure out who running shit now. Because then I really didn't know what was going on until I came home. So they went to point out, okay, he ran this, he ran that. So like, as soon as I get to the field, I like approach these guys like, what's up, bro? I heard you, got something going on. You up now? So to keep me off of them, they threw me a party that I didn't even know about. People coming to me like, bro, you having a party at the Sand Truck? This is a club. And I've been like, nah, I don't know nothing about a party. Whole time these guys that I don't approach, they got the money now. They got the clout in the city with the drugs. They don't put together me a party. Got one of my homeboys and brought me an outfit, some shoes, like it was gonna save them. No, I need him.
What do you mean was gonna save him? Like you mean like you were gonna take over? So they were hoping they could hold you off by like
being my friend,
being buddies with you, and kind of just shuffling you a little bit of money. And
nah, that wasn't gonna happen.
You could just be a foot soldier now.
That's what gonna happen. I need him. Right. Just give me enough, and I'll leave you alone. Don't have to worry about me. And the ones that then, like I had one of my partners take one dude necklace, just making my print. I'm back home. I need it. So I came home straight into the conspiracy. So that's why by the time I think I was out 19 months before the Fed picked me up.
So you came home and there was when you say that conspiracy, there was already the
guy that I came home dealing with. They already had a conspiracy going on.
So they were already being investigated.
They were already being.
You just stepped into the investigations. They add your name to the list. Oh yeah, look, we got another one.
And then remember I tell you like before I went to state prison, we gonna get back into the gang thing. But by then I had them took over. Like the Bloods was the top gang in the city. We had numbers up. We were doing all the bullshit. So when I came home from state prison, they was already on me anyway. Like we got to get him because I came straight back home, straight back to the drugs, straight back to the guy. I didn't take a day off, no job. And I think I probably had a job once or twice. I'm telling you, I had a job at Sears. I sold lawnmower. I sold lawn equipment. And even then, I was serving the store manager cocaine. So I was just leaving every day at 12. But my probation officer made me get a job. My first little charges. I never had a job.
They're jerks like that.
Yeah, they made me get a job. I didn't see no reason for me to need a job. I was paying my fines.
Selling.
Yeah.
First of all, how are they have to put it together like, well, you don't have a job. How are you paying your fine? And I can't see you selling lawnmowers. No, this is better than what we had in prison. We had these push ones in prison. People are walking off. What's wrong?
So I was selling lawnmower. That's the only job I worked at Sears. The district manager ended up firing me. Because he came in, you on these point system. He was like, this guy's never at work. Like he only comes in for a couple hours and leave. He ended up firing me. But I was serving the dude, the actual person over the store. I was serving him cocaine. So, and I was like, bro, I really don't want to work. So right. I can keep all the commission out. I don't care about none of that shit. I'm just here because my probation officer made me come. But straight out of state prison, I didn't even think about getting a job. That wasn't even what I'm doing with a job. Nothing. It was nothing I could do with a job at that time. So basically after that, I got back into the groove of things, you know what I mean? I started getting the bricks, cocaine, started getting the weed or whatever the case may be. But I got out of state prison in 2010. My little brother got killed 2012. So that incident right there, man, that was the incident where I kind of knew that the federal government was on me. Like, I knew I had fucked up, you know what I mean, by then. And reason being is because I got pulled over and I had probably had like 40 about $40,000 to $50,000 on me or something like that.
Is this before he got killed?
Yeah, there was
Okay.
right after he got killed.
Well, how how did he get killed?
Okay, so this is a touchy subject for me, but August the 25th is one of my close friend birthdays. So we had a big old party, whatever the case may be. I got to tell you, this party lead up on how he ended up getting killed. We had a big old party, and we had like 2 limousines and party buses, and we just had a whole bunch of shit going on. And after the club, I was trying to go be with a girl. You know what I mean? I had Bama and Mayday. So I think I had 2 of my forces with me. And they was gonna basically walk me to the girl car. And I thought, you know, once I get in the car, I was gonna go to separate. But I had told my little brother, like, to get in my limo, and I have you in the limousine driver to come get me when I finish with the girl, because I had to go home. You know what I mean? The girl was my girlfriend, and just somebody that I had met while I was at the club.
All right.
When we walking toward the back of the club, I don't know if some guys back here aiming to rob me. So the dude was standing with their back to the wall. He ended up raising up the shotgun, but what happened was if I was too close to the wall for him to raise the shotgun up to point it at me. So when he raised it, kind of like went past me, and I grabbed it. So I ended up wrestling him down. My enforcer, they ended up getting with the dudes, whatever came at me. So I ended up taking the gun from him, but the gun fell out of my hand, but I automatically pulled my gun. And I just started shooting back in the back. I don't know, I'm just shooting wild. You know what I mean? I'm just shooting, because they shooting, I'm shooting. Everybody scattered, go their separate way. I ended up still getting in the car with the girl. But remember I told you my little brother got in my limo.
Right.
So he go to this hangout spot called Shackleford. It's just where everybody goes out to the club. After this incident happened, I don't want to go with the girl anymore. I'm just trying to go get back with my people. I'm trying to go around my homeboys, whatever came me. We pull into this spot called Shackleford, and my little sister, her car is like 2 cars forward. So what I do, I jump out, I run in my little sister's car, I give her the gun that I was just using, because I didn't know if I had shot somebody.
Right.
Because I was just shooting in the blind.
Right.
I mean, so I give my little sister the gun, but she looking across the parking lot, and she like, come, I got on baby blue True Religion, and my little brother got on red True Religion. She was like, I think they're tail they're fighting, but it's way across the parking lot. So I'm looking, I'm like, that is take. So I get to running through, but it's cars, it's people, it's a whole bunch of shit going on. So I get to running through the parking lot to get to my little brother. In the process of me running through these cars and these people, I see the dude, my little brother got a squeegee. When you clean your window off,
Yeah.
he beating the dude with a squeegee. The dude ended up tearing away from my little brother and running to the car. He goes to the car and somebody had him a gun.
Right.
He turned the gun around, he pointed at my little brother. So I run in front of the gun and get shot in his hand first. That's why I missed his finger. But I don't know hit now. I don't know my little brother hit. I don't know nothing. Only thing I'm trying to do is save my brother.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm trying to do, because me being in the street so long, I always tell people that the dude with the gun that just
Right.
he more than likely, he probably not gonna shoot you.
Right.
If you see a guy point a gun, he take a step back, he's scared. Don't gonna be normally the guy that's gonna shoot you. The guy that backs away. Because if he got a gun and he back away from you, then he sees you as a serious threat. So I see the guy, I'm like, man, he finna shoot my brother. I run in front of the gun, he shoot me in his hand. I end up wrapping up with him, and we end up tussling, and he just, was whole time he was squealing. He was just shooting. And he shot, knocked out this finger, knocked out this finger, knocked out this finger. I got shot I got one straight in my leg, and I got one went in my right foot. It came out the bottom of it. It was so crazy, because dude named Gregor Hot Top, never forget it. He basically pulled me from the dude, because the dude wasn't gonna stop shooting.
Right.
He just I guess he had his mind made up. So he ended up getting shot in the foot. When he pulled me, I slipped down, and the dude was still shooting. He ended up shooting me in my foot. I never forget it. I was laying down between a Burgundy top or Burgundy Expedition and a silver Nissan, I believe. I remember looking over and seeing my little brother on the ground. I just like, fuck. And they end up he ended up going in one car. I ended up going in another car to the hospital. And I never forget, I'm in the hospital bed. I just keep asking, like, where my brother? And the doctor was just like, oh, he dead. like he was a dog or some shit. So I ain't trying to jump out the bed, fight with the arm, and jump out the bed trying to fight the doctor and all that type of shit. So that's where you met me in the prison. I was like, bro, I you want to know what happened with my fingers. So that basically what happened with my fingers. And the crazy thing about it, by then I had accumulated so much power, and my team was so active. Like I was the biggest game by then. I had the most influence by then. I had them beat all kinds of charges. I'm telling you, man, I had been in every interrogation room in our county. Like every interrogation room I had been in one room at some point. I can remember going into the police station, and they had this board. They had by my name, they had Travis Luke, and by they had Ghost. And the reason why because I'm gonna get out of there as soon as some shit happen, I'm gone. And they never really could catch me. You know what I mean? Like I really all this 90% of the shit that they had me down on for, I probably did. So right. You know what I mean? But they really never could. They never could really get me for all that shit. Like I done got out of it. But I had to say that to say this. For I say 6 days, I had no contact with outside world. They blocked off half of the Florida. I thought I was on the 9th floor. They blocked off half of the Florida hospital. Reason being because when that happened with my little brother, they had to shut the city down. They had to put extra police at the schools. They locked the jailhouses down. They basically locked the city down, trying to keep it from getting out of hand.
Right.
I had no telephone, no TV, nothing, and I wasn't even on the arrest. They were just their tactic of keeping me from.
Right, from saying, hey, this is what needs to happen.
Right.
But are things happening automatically without
that was the dumbest thing they could have did. It was happening so bad, and I'd be, you know what I mean? I could speak on it now, but I'd be honest, like my mama, but some bad things will turn good people worse. You know what I mean? Bad things will turn good people worse. Right. I say that to say that my mama, she didn't even try to stop it. Like she knew what was going on and she knew what was happening. It's just like, shit, they took my baby. Like, I don't care. Like I remember my mama calling me. She used to drive around these little bus things. She'll call me and be like, I'm over here on this street, like, and they outside, I run all of them over. And I was just like, nah, don't do that. I got it. You know what I mean? Just chill. So it was a bad situation. But go back to the hospital situation. And from you hang around me, I ain't never really been a religious person, but I could just say that I know that something bigger than me had to be in the play, because they only let me have one nurse. I couldn't nobody else come in my room. They had the flow blocked off. I really couldn't deal with nobody with this one nurse. And this lady, she had been taking care of me for a long time. They had me with this morphine shit. Like dripping, I'm going to sleep. I'm out of it. Mm-hmm. For days. Like I'm out of it. Probably every day they feed me this morphine. And just at this one point of time, yesterday they hadn't made their mind. They were just gonna let me out of the hospital. And this lady, she said, "You know my son." I said, "I don't know you." She said, "Baby, please don't kill my son." So I don't know who your son is. So she tell me her son's name, and this same dude, he didn't do that to my brother, but he just had a crazy mouth on him. You know what I mean? He rapped and shit. He did music and shit. And she just like, "Don't kill my son." I was like, dang, it's the same lady that been here taking care of me for like 4 or 5 days. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And shit was crazy because they didn't let me talk to my mama, my kids, my brothers, my sister. I couldn't talk to nobody. They just literally isolated me from the world. And it didn't help because all kinds of stuff, even to their day, on that day that my little brother got, something gonna happen. Even to this day, somebody gonna get into some type of fights, or somebody gonna get shot, or something gonna get shot up. Even to this day, and it ain't my doing. And like they, people used to tell me, you can't tell me how to feel about taking and kill, because I had my own love for taking.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when the police, and that one of the reasons why the feds really came in and got on me to get me out of the picture, which only made shit worse, because but prior to me going to jail, it was just like me and my group of bloods and one more other group. Now, and man, there's so many different blood sets in that city, I can't even keep up with them.
So what happened to the guy that you were wrestling with the gun that shot your brother? What happened to him?
Oh, he ended up going to prison.
Okay.
So
did they get him right away?
No, he went on the run. He went on the run, and some other guys with him shot each other to try to make it seem like I shot them, and it was just a bad situation. Only reason why, and they tried to charge me with all this stuff, but how I got out of the charges was they were trying to put me in 2 places at one time. Remember I told you the situation happened at the at Sand Truck, right, at the club. So it happened back to back so fast. It's like, oh, he did this and he did this, and my lawyer just like, there's no way he did both. So what did he do?
Right.
He's like, did he shoot behind the sand trap? Did he do that? Or did he incite this? Because they tried to say that I incited the situation that got my brother killed. So they was trying to charge me with my brother murder. And I can speak on like he don't win to beat it. But I ain't gonna say his name, but one of the guys that I knew, he was a real security, but he was part of my situation. Let's just say that.
Right.
He got the shooting, trying to shoot back at the guys that were shooting in or shooting in the bystander who was shooting a girl. So it was just bad. It was a hard situation.
Did you shoot it when you were firing back at that guy? When you were blindly firing, did anybody get hit?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Right. So you couldn't have been there and gotten all the way to where you guys were with the limo. And because by the time you got there, it was already happening. And then you had to run across the thing. So they were trying to say you were there first. You started the whole thing. You were there the whole time.
And it wouldn't have made sense because there was Family Dollars and some more store they had footage from.
Right.
So it just didn't make sense. But that was just one of their plots to try to get me away from the, you know what I mean? Get me off the street.
Yeah, get you tied up and throw them back in prison for a little.
Because I was getting away with it. Man, listen, no food. They used to try to charge me with so much stuff. And they would just raid my mama's house and my grandmama's house, and they would just do shit. Like, I remember one time, they came to us when my little brother got killed. They came to my grandmama's house, a lot of them. I don't even remember what they came for, but they came and they basically just arrested me with no charges. Just came to get me. And my little brother, the one that got killed, he was a loose cannon. He got to arguing with him, and by him, when he got arguing with him, my gang started arguing with him. So it was just like, my hood and the police is on the standoff with my mama, my auntie, my mama and my grandmama, and my auntie's in the middle of it. He was just like, they about to get to fighting. And they end up grabbing my little brother and slamming him down and shit. So funny. They end up slamming him down. And he just like, that baby ass slam. Like that. And I'm in hell, but they got these little zip tie shit. So I mean, I was just like, bro, y'all chill out. Like, what's up with y'all, man? It's the police. But I remember I told you the way the gang task force came in my neighborhood, they came in the militant way. It wasn't pick the little man off, then to get to the big man. It just like, we at war with y'all. Like, fuck y'all. Like, they a gang, we a gang. What's up? And that's how they basically came in my neighborhood when they first came.
So how long was it until you got arrested and went to prison?
Probably, that was in August.
Well, real quick, how much time did that guy get when
I think 85 years, I think.
85 years?
He could have got 25 if he wanted to win trial. Yeah, he could have got like 25. I think he got 85. He could have got 25. So I think he felt like he was going to beat it because of who he was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they would have gave him like 20, 25 years if he ain't going to try.
How did your little brother and him even get, like, you saw it from a distance. Mm-hmm. What actually happened there? There was just a dispute. They got into a fight.
Man, it's crazy. I think I should have realized then that that's another incident that I should have just got away from, because it was just only my little brother. It was some more the gangs out there. You know what I mean? Right. His gang and our gang was out there, but my little brother was the only one get at it. My little brother was the only one that got the fight. You know what I mean? Everybody else, especially when the gun came out, everybody else basically just scattered. They just got out of the way.
So you don't know why they just got the...
Just being in several gangs in the same place.
Okay.
Remember I told you about the boredom thing. Like, really, nobody can really tell you what the beef really be about. It just basically be you Crip on blood, or you Rock on blood, you GD on blood. That's really basically what the situation be. It don't really be nothing for it to really go that bad. It just, we in separate hoods.
So you got arrested following that. Mm-hmm. How much longer until you got arrested?
So that happened in August. I got arrested. I think I stayed out another August, September, October, November, about another 15 months.
And what did they arrest you for?
Standing beside somebody that sold some drugs, aiding and abetting.
How much time did you get?
12 years. But now,
Look at Kobe's eyes. His eyes went.
so, but
Yeah, that's the feds.
yeah, that's a fact. And the crazy, and the crazy thing about it is I missed the part that I'm gonna get back to. When I told you that, okay, after my little brother got killed, shit just started going bad.
Right.
So right after that, it was another isolated incident that didn't have nothing to do with my brother getting killed, or even the gangs against the gangs. It was just another situation where my little cousin and one of my other friends got killed on the same street. And it was so crazy. Like, I was literally sitting on the front porch. I got up to go in the house. When I went in the house, I heard all the gunshots. By the time I arrived at the back door, the shooting and everything's over. You know what I mean? I ended up getting away from the scene because I already knew I couldn't be around it. But they end up killing my partner Demo, and they end up killing my little cousin, my bug guy. Both of them end up getting killed in the shootout. So when that happened, the gang task force started checking the hood again, trying to find out what was going on. And it was crazy. You would think that they would be raiding the other neighborhood, but they was raiding the neighborhood where my little cousin and my homie got killed at. They were trying to get us locked up instead of trying to find out who killed them.
Right.
In the mix of it, for whatever reason, they got a tip. I don't know. I still don't know to this day. They raided my mama's house. But in the process of them raiding my mama's house, the house next door to me, some more dudes that was in my gang, you know what I mean, stayed in the house next door. So when they see the cars and shit turn on the road, they get to running and they throw the guns up under my mama's house as they try to just get out the gun, because it's a crawl space up under the house. The gang task force ended up coming around, searching my mama's house, raiding it, go through it, they end up finding the guns. Mind you, I'm not there. I'm nowhere near around it. That's what they used to indict me. They got the guns.
That weren't your guns.
That weren't my guns. Couldn't even point them guns out. Said they knew nothing about them. It was like a assault rifle, some shotgun. I don't know. I never seen the gun. My fingerprint was on the gun. I ain't had no pictures with the guns. Nothing. They just used that as he's a threat, basically. So when they took the picture, when the dude came up with a camera, and I think if I ain't mistaken, he think he had a camera on a keychain. And he came to search something. He came to buy some drugs for somebody else. Now, mind you, it's probably 8-9 of us in the yard, because we was waiting on the UPS man to bring us a CD of all the music. We was about to get ready to go out of town, so I had a record label.
Right.
And he just happened to come over there to sell him some drugs. We buy some drugs while I was there. And they seen me on the camera. They charged me aid in the bed. And they told me if I'd have called the police and reported him selling the drugs, I would have never went in jail. But since I did call, I ain't make no money off the sale. I ain't had nothing to do with the sale. He sold him like a half a brick of cocaine or something like that. But I told him though, I said, man, something ain't right with dude. It can't, because his money is always perfect. Like, if you selling drugs, you're going to have different denominations of money. You're just not going to come with all 20s like that shit. Something ain't right. Like, something that you ain't going to get this money from the bank. Like, it's something not right. But the whole time, he was coming over there making controlled buys. And I never once served him. Like, never. Me and him never did any business. I just so happened to be. And the guy who sold the drug, they gave him 2 years. Yeah. They gave him 2 years, gave me 12. That's when I caught my Fed case for 8 in the bed. 8 in the bed in this cell. That was 400 and right at 500 grams of cocaine. They already know how the conspiracy go. They just start adding that shit up. He said you sold this. She said you sold that. They just add.
You didn't go to trial.
Hell, who?
No, I
ain't playing on them people.
You just saw your lawyer just explain. They just explained. This is what they've got. Yeah. This is what they're saying. These are the people that are going to testify against you.
And it was
do you want to get 25 years or do you want to take 5?
I was going to get a life sentence.
Okay. Do you want life or you want to do 12?
Yeah, they were going to give me a life sentence simply because of I was a career criminal.
Yeah.
So I had all these charges from selling drugs already. Then I've never been arrested for the gang shit. But it's like we just never arrested them for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
most of these guys, like from the outlaws, the biker gangs, like they've gone to state trial and beat like state murder charges, beat another state murder charge, beat another state murder charge, beat a drug conspiracy, and then the feds come in and get them for something minor
and give them everything they can give them,
and bam, they get 30 years. Like that's it. It's like all these charges that they beat, and then so finally they get frustrated and they call the feds, and they basically, it's almost like they say set them up on a charge.
Yeah, that's basically what they did to me. Right. And then what was crazy with this one, I knew I was out of my league. Most people say they know they leave when they say the United States of America versus no, I didn't know then. I still was like, all right, cool. But I remember, did you go through Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay. So they got a unit there where they put all the game numbers. It's called DCU2. So I'm already knowing something wrong because they got me black box. Like, why do I got this black box, man? I don't have a violent crime. I'm locked up for drugs. Like, why do we have this black box on me? So when I first get to Atlanta, they like call these names. I step out. I notice everybody that's stepping out got on black boxes. So I'm like, what the fuck? What? Okay, I'm step on that. What's going on? So they came out like, you gang affiliated with the Bloods. You gang. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not in a gang. Like, I don't know. I'm not for drugs.
They're like, I got a file.
Got a file on you guys. No bullshit, man. They send me in DCU too. When I walk in there, I could tell something is terribly wrong. Like, the tension is crazy. The tension is crazy in this unit. This is the unit they send all the gang members, no matter what gang you're in. So they piling up every type of gang you could think of in this one unit. One unit.
Who they put you in a cell with?
I was in the cell with a GD. But with that, I think the reason why they put me in the cell with him because we both had 020 numbers. So they basically knew we were from the same area. So I put me in the room. I was in the room with a GD. And I remember, man, they popped the doors. And we probably didn't stay out but like 12 minutes before a fight broke out. But I remember them popping the doors and all the Bloods came over and we was talking. And it was a one guy. I could look at, I could tell, boy, it was bad for him. I could tell. So I was like, bro, what you locked up for? Now, mind you, I ain't told him I got 12 years yet. So he talking. So he like, man, I'm Miller. I'm from New York. I'm locked up for RICO. So I'm like, bro, how much time you got? He like, man, I got 45 years. Well, get that right. He said I got 460 something months. Right. He didn't say 45 years. Like, I got 460 something. Yeah, like, okay. So I was just like, damn, what you got locked up for? He like, man, so they RICO'd the hood. They found my phone number and the dude's phone. They had a murder charge, and they brought me in on the RICO. I got 45 years. So I was just like, so how much time you got? So we just like go around the unit and just like everybody got like 30 or 40 years. Like, I don't supposed to be here. I don't care what my record was supposed to say. I wasn't charged for that. Why am I here? But that was my first taste of how the federal government worked. So I get a Talladega medium high. And the lieutenant, he basically told me like, anytime the Blood do anything, you're gonna be responsible for it too. But now it's another guy on the compound who's supposed to have more range than me that was from New York. But for whatever reason, they gonna put this on my back. If they do something, you get charged with it. So them folks literally like forced me to be in the game. Way before I got to the prison where you was at, and they tried to make me sign a paper sales in the game. Like, they forced me, like, I don't care what you say, your paperwork say this what you gonna do. That's when I knew I was out of my league. Cause you would think they would be like, oh, you don't want to be in the game? Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll send you over here. We'll work with
No, sir. No, sir. Your paper say you're a leader, so you gonna go ahead and be a leader, or else. That's when I knew I was out of my league.
Where were you before you got to Coleman?
I was at Talladega medium high.
Okay, so you were there, and then you went to
Coleman.
Okay,
and then I went to Edgefield.
Okay, and that's where I met you at the low.
No worse. I hated it. Listen. My partner came. I tried to put a separate T's on. You know what that is, right? Yeah. I tried to put a separate T's on. Like, we got a problem. I can't go because he went ahead of me. And he wrote that like, bro, don't come here. Yeah. Like, do not come to Coleman. So it's like, damn. So I like try to put a separate T's on him, saying we can't go to the same prison. Hopefully they'll ship me somewhere else. I try to get a little minor charge where I could stay at Coleman on at Talladega and not get shipped to the pen or to another spot. And it's just like none of that shit was right. It's almost like the counselor knew that I was trying to get out again and sent to Coleman. And they sent me to Coleman. I did not want to go to that place at all. I didn't want to go to Coleman at all. But I on hindsight, I'm glad I did, though.
I was just saying, what was the exact reason?
Because there were too many self-defense stitches on the compound. It's just like, and then we know, you went from a medium to a low 2 max. So you know that the respect level is different. Even with the COs, like the respect level is different. The people is different. Like, I remember.
I understand that, but it's easier time.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's easier time for you. Yeah, it's not easier time for me.
Nobody bothers you.
Nah, it bothers me when I see stuff like the sex offender talking shit. Like,
you didn't like the fact that there was like 6 or 8 punks that would walk around the compound and be like,
I hated it.
Hey,
I hated it.
And you would see like it would be like a gaggle of
Man.
They call them, punks,
Yeah.
a gaggle of punks. They'd be waving to people. Like they'd see some guy would be walking and they'd be like, hey, and all of them would go, hey.
We used to be on, like, we finna go out of Rickyard to work out. And they just sitting, I'm not working out with no sitting here.
They had a whole baseball team.
Yeah.
It was made up of just
kickball. It was kickball. It was
Oh, was
kickball.
it?
They had a kickball team. I remember that.
just the punk. They had karaoke night.
No,
They would sing.
No, you remember when that was my first figured out with LGBTQ, whatever it was. That was my first figured it out. They locked the compound down and we lay like a little dinner with them people up in the culinary art building. I knew I was in the wrong place.
Oh yeah, they celebrated.
They celebrated.
They had a day where they celebrated.
Locked everybody down and let them came out and they cooked them real food.
They were dancing. I heard they had dancing. And I wasn't like 8 of them. We're talking about like there's like 30, 40 people. They had a big party.
It seemed like every other day somebody was coming out, man, such
yeah.
punk.
They were what were they called?
You can't be friends with nobody.
They were not, what did they say? Where they were not flipping them, they were turning them out. They turned out so and so, and then every other day, and every once in a while they would have a punk come on the compound that had like real fake tits. And like fake tits. At one point, there was like 3 guys that had fake tits on the compound.
They call them Canver Gates.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They all had like Tyler. They had Tyler Swift. They were playing Tyler Swift. They would make.
Man, I hated it. I promise I did not want to come to prison.
Michael, what's it? Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj. I hated it.
Michael Minaj. They would have like.
They were getting married and shit, jumping and brooming and shit, throwing around. Like, oh, why am I here? How did I get here?
Listen, karaoke night was pretty entertaining.
Man, I hated it. I promise I hated it. I did not want to come to that prison.
See, we were on a different kind of time. Like I would be like, I would go in the compound and be like, hey, they're having karaoke night, guys. But fuck you. I go, come on,
fucking karaoke night
singing. Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you guys?
Watching that shit, I hated it. You try to go outside and work out, and they just standing there watching. Like, fuck, I'll go work out in my cell, bro. I'm not going out there. My homeboys be like, oh, it's cool. Bro, I'm not going out there and work. You know what, bro? We ain't even cool no more. Like, oh, just get the fuck off around me. If you think I'm finna go out here and work out with these folks just sitting here just watching, no, hell no. I did not want that. I promise you, I did not want to come to that prison. Then it didn't help. When I first got there, they every prison I went to, and I ain't go to but 3, but every prison I went to, I had to meet with the SIS.
Right.
The police who police the compounds. They messed around, they let me leave out without meeting because a fight broke out.
Yeah.
They blame me for it. Like, you were supposed to tell us, now you want me to do your job. I'm not doing that. I'll never forget it. The police went in there with $1, took my whole locker out of my cell and went through every piece of paper in my room looking for gang knowledge because they wanted me to sign the paper and say that I was in the gang. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But I figured out why they was doing that when all the bloods they come to me like, okay, this such, he, this, him. So I'm like, see, I got in here. Well, first of all, where did y'all get in at? Because there's nowhere, it's an open unit. So where did y'all fight to get in? It's like we took a test. So like y'all, like.
So you say these are guys that joined the Bloods while incarcerated?
No, be specific. At Coleman.
Okay.
At Coleman.
And they took a test. Was it a multiple choice test?
I never seen a test, and I just told you I've been in the game basically since I was in the 6th grade. I never seen a test. I don't know who came
on the test.
I guess they just learned the knowledge, learned what blood stand for. I don't know, and it just threw me for a loop. And they were just like, "Yeah, I took a test." Like it was.
That's how you do it, right?
Yeah, I didn't understand. Like, bro, I was beat down very bad. Like I couldn't,
Oh, wait, what was his name? You just mentioned his name. I was locked. I was in a halfway house with him. Gemini.
Oh, he was terrible. And Gemini was like 50. That's why he's in the game. And then when it's time to be in the game, you don't want to be in the game. That's when he went back and tried to get back on with, in the phase, you be on game time or tapping time or whatever. Everybody got their own clique. And he's just like, nah, you ain't gonna be blood, bro. And it's crazy, he switched sets. I found out later that he went from G-Shine to Brim or something like that. But he never should have been. He like 50. He had all kind of gray hair. Just like, where you come from?
He died in the halfway house.
I know he did. That's why he was gonna like to be a DJ.
So there, you know, how many knuckleheads there were that would go, that would, you know, they rap all through their prison sentence. They were going to get out and be a rapper, and like, and then yes, 2 months later you find out like you're installing pools. Like what happened to the rap thing? Yeah, that did.
You cut grass.
Like, I met a girl, and that's it.
It never works.
It's funny, Jim and I. This is so I'm in the halfway house, right? And Jim and I was there, and the reason I makes me think about this, you'll think this is funny. So when I taught the real estate class in Coleman, I had taught. There was a guy that took the class, white guy, pretty big guy. He's like 6 foot tall, and he was only in jail for 6 months, 8, maybe 10 months. I think he did get 2 or 3 years, but he was, by the time he got to Coleman, he barely did any time in lab.
Right.
But he remembered me. And so he said he remember he sat through the class. So he sat through the class, and then he got out, and then he kept track of where I was, you know, like would check the BOP computer every once in a while, and saw that I was getting out soon, and he knew that I was going to go to the halfway house. So one day I'm sitting there in the halfway house, and Jim and I comes up to me. He goes, "Hey," he said, "Cox," he goes, "you need to go outside." And I go, "For what?" And he goes, "There's a guy outside for you." And I thought it was like another guy in the halfway house, right? Like some guy wants to talk to me outside. And I went, "Who is it?" And he goes, "I don't know, bro, but you need to go outside." And I could tell you, it's not like you're in trouble, but
right,
you need to do this, bro. And I was like, "Fuck, all right." So I get up and I walk outside, and so you know, outside that, well, I don't know what halfway house you were at, but at this halfway house, guys would go outside to smoke. Right. So you got like 30 guys standing outside smoking in the parking lot. So there's 30 guys standing outside smoking. And so I walk out, and as soon as I walk outside, I look over, there's a white Lamborghini with a blonde chick driving it. And the guy that was in my Coleman thing sitting in the passenger side. And all 30 guys are literally 10 feet away smoking cigarettes like, fuck, look at this. Fucking Lamborghini. And, you know, and I see him, the guy goes, "Cox. And I kind of recognized him. Like I knew him from somewhere. And the only place I could know you at this point from.
You were famous at Coleman, man.
So I walk up, but you're not supposed to talk to anybody, remember?
Yeah.
You can't talk to anybody. You're invincible.
Who that fits?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm in the parking lot. No, I'm saying even in the halfway house, people can't come see you. They have to be approved.
See, the halfway house, they had a fence in the back where we smoked, and the people come through the alley.
No, they told you, like, if one of your friends comes by, don't think you're going to stand in the parking lot and talk to them. We'll send you right back to fucking prison.
Right.
Everybody has to be approved, just like in prison. They have to come through the ear. So I see him, I walk up to him, and I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Hey, man, I know you were getting out." He starts talking to me. I'm like, and then it kind of dawns on me, oh, shit. There's cameras here. There's 30 guys here, you know, and I'm like, "Oh, yo, bro, I can't, you got to talk to me. I work at a gym. Like, I tell him the name of the gym. I go, yeah. I'm like, "You're going to get me fucked up. I got to go." And I turn around and walk off. He contacts me a few days later, but but I remember, listen, after that, can you imagine? I walk out, I'm talking to some guy in a fucking Lamborghini. Everybody in the halfway house is now
chainsaw.
Yeah, what's up with you, bro? What's going? And then they start looking me up. They start watching the American Greed episode. Next thing I know, all the officers have watched it, or the staff has watched it. So now as I'm walking around, they're like, "Cox, what's up? How good?" I'm like, what's going on?
It was like that in prison, though. I told you, man, you could be humble as you want to. You was like famous, and you, Tim again, Lance Poston, like y'all was like the famous ones on the compound.
You know, Lance turned out to be a real piece of shit.
Yeah, I know.
He got out, and like he had promised all these guys that were kind of like watching out for him and being cool with him, and they would like get out. He promised them a job and everything. They'd get out and call. Like this one guy, Brandon, called him 2 or 3 times, left messages. Finally, Brandon called, and Lance's wife picked up the phone and said, "Listen, he's not going to call you back. He don't want anything to do with you. He don't want to talk to you. He don't want nothing to do. He said, don't call again."
It don't surprise me. Like what Lance said, Bell's like $2.7 billion out of his health company.
It was in the billion.
Yeah. You think he want to talk to you?
Well, you know, so here's what bothers me is that so listen, I was raised upper middle class, right? So, but I met some great people in prison. I met better people in prison than I knew prior to going to prison.
But you went in there just trying to survive, though. You just being mad. Like, he was just trying to survive. So he was like, I'm going to just be cool with everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to feed you this so you can hang around and protect me, watch out for me. You were just mad. No, by the time I met you, I don't know about the other prisoners, but by the time I met you, just mad.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I went, yeah, I guess Lance was trying to, like, I remember they sent him, he went to trial, lost. They sent him to the pen. Like, he got the shit kicked out. You remember he was missing a tooth? Mm-hmm. He got the living shit kicked out of him in the pen, like a couple times. They kept him in the shoe until they sent him they held him long enough till like they sent him to like the low, I think. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah. But I mean, to me, it was like, I was just like, I'm just going to have to make the best of it here. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, either you're going to not mouth off, you're just not going to talk to anybody the whole time you're here, or you're going to run your mouth, and every once in a while you're going to get fucking flat. Which one do you want to do? And I thought, I'll survive the bitch slapping more than I will just not talking to anybody. So I'm just going to walk around and joke around and fuck around. And if every once in a while I piss somebody off and they get in my face, well, that's all right. That's going to happen. Nobody expects me to be a tough guy.
Right.
So that's why I was just like, be mad, joke around and fuck around. And as a result of that, I think I met some great people, people that literally I got out and I still communicate with, people that I got out and they would, they'll ask me to send them some money, or can you mail me a book? Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that because nobody was doing that for me. So,
you're a good guy, man. Cause I could tell you, like, when we talk about me coming to your podcast, like, I'm not gonna do it. You do it over the phone. You know what I mean? Like, you my partner. I'm gonna pay the kid. I'm gonna pay for. I ain't ask you to do nothing because I knew the shit that I learned from you for real estate and credit and just being around, just watching you. Like, even though with the book writing shit, by the time I met you, it was like I knew I wanted to write books. I knew I wanted to write movies. I knew I wanted to do all this shit, but I had no idea how to do it. So just hanging around you, watching your work ethic, little simple shit like that. I'm gonna tell you, you probably didn't pay attention to the shit. You were just being mad. Little simple shit like getting up every morning, racing to that library to do something productive with your day. That shit kept me from getting out of prison doing some bullshit. Cause mind you, I just told you, the prior prison I was at, I was just meeting more people that were gonna help me get more drugs. Right. So when I made it to the Coleman, and it was like, oh man, you need to meet Matt. That when Kate introduced me to you, and I was just like, nah, you just gotta come to the library. Like, I don't come out, I don't do much. You gotta come to the library. So that created a habit, a good habit for me, getting up every morning, shooting to the library. You know what I mean? That's why that little one time when they try to take our seats, I'm like, no, you gotta do shit, Matt. I got it. Yeah, this is my lane. This what you just continue to let me be around you, learn from you, doing this book, the book writing shit, listen to. Even with the lawsuit that you had on dude, I forget dude's name, it taught me contract. Dev Rolling. It taught me contract. Like, don't just do shit. Like, make sure you got all your shit in a row. You know what I mean? Like, don't make sure people right until I heard Dev Rolling name again on some bullshit too. But I learned a lot from you. So it's just like, why fuck with Matt? Like, because I would have stood up, even though you could have stood up for yourself, I would have stood up for you because, like, Matt not fucking with nobody. You would have stood up for yourself, man.
Listen, I say right now. So, because I don't think people understand that. So, and not everybody's watched all the podcasts, but what I did basically in prison was I used to go at the low. So it's funny because at the medium, like the library is like almost always empty. Right. But at the low, people they didn't want to go outside and work out. So they would, when they called the move, you could either go to the rec yard or you could go to the library or culinary arts, or if you had something, your job, whatever. But if you didn't want to go sweat your ass off in the rec center, you went to the library. Well, the problem with that was, for someone like me, who I'm not really going there to avoid being outside, I'm going there because I'm writing a book. So I would bust my ass and race all the way over there. Well, first I was just sitting anywhere. Like, I was sitting at any table when I first got there. And I'm going there and I'm writing. And multiple things happened in the library. Like, there was just a few big, long tables. Then they broke up into small tables. But what I started noticing over the course of a couple of weeks was there was one table where there was like 5 or 6 black guys that were sitting there, and I could see they were writing. Does that make sense? You could see they were writing. And then one day, and that's why obviously it got around that, like, well, those guys all write. They write like urban novels. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. So then one day I got there and somebody left. I forget how I ended up sitting at the table. And they're writing and I'm writing. Well, one of the guys goes, what are you writing? you doing legal work? And I said, no, I'm writing a book. And they were like, what do you write? I was like, well, I'm trying to finish my book. I wrote a book about me. And they were like, oh, okay. I said, what are you guys writing? And, they don't even really want to talk to me. Like they're giving me, they're bugging me.
Right.
And anyway, so we start talking over the course of a week or two, we start talking and they're asking me questions. And I basically had finished up my book by that point. And I was writing another book. I think I was finishing Deveroli's book.
Yeah.
And so they started to understand that. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of explained that I was finishing up the manuscript and they saw that I had like a literary agent. People are coming to see me.
Yep.
They're starting to look me up. They're starting to say, oh, wow, that's interesting. And I'll never forget that at one point, Deveroli's book was done. And I started writing this kid's book, Doug Dodd. And they were like, what's his story? Because I kept telling them, listen, you guys are writing urban novels. And I said, they're like, yeah, well, they sell some, they would write a book, and some of these books, you get them published, they make 6,000 or 7,000 or 13. There was one guy that sat with us for a while, and then he got transferred. He'd written like 5 or 6 books, and he had started writing urban novels like 10 or 15 years before he had like a huge sit-in.
Yeah.
When he first started writing, very few people write urban novels. So he put a couple of them out, and they would make $12,000 or $13,000. Like, in prison, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So if you made $12,000 over the course of 2 years, that's a good chunk of change. And he's got multiple. His problem was, he was like, the problem is everybody's doing it now. So it's watered down. So now I'll finish a book and put it out. And even though I've got all these other books and people know my name, he said the books make a couple $1,000s. Yeah. And I was trying to explain that to these guys. I was like, well, so-and-so said this. And they didn't, well, mine's going to be huge. Mine's going to be huge. And they're like, well, you don't think yours is going to be huge? I said, I'll be lucky to publish mine. I don't care if it's huge. I enjoy doing this. This is how I do my time.
That's how I do my time.
Well, when Dodd came in, so Doug Dodd came in, I remember saying, listen, this kid, he's got an okay story. It's not the greatest story, but I think I can make it great if I just focus on this and this and this. And they were going, well, are you going to write it? And I was like, well, I think I'm going to write a synopsis,
right? A
very short story version of it. And they were like, why? You can't sell that. And I said, no, but what I could do is I'm thinking I can send it to a bunch of reporters and try and get him into like a magazine. If I can get him into like GQ magazine or something, then I can probably get a book deal.
Right.
And I remember Kay and all of these guys were like, what? Like, bro, what? I said, yeah. I said, because think about it. What gives me credibility is that I'm in prison writing these guys' story.
Right.
What gives him credibility is his charges. So I said, what you guys all have, you don't seem to realize it, is what gives you credibility for the first time in your life is that you sold drugs.
Right.
Like, you should write a book about you and that drug, the whole drug thing and your story. You could make it amazing. They don't want to do that because they want to sensationalize it.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
It doesn't matter if you're a poor kid from the projects that didn't have a fucking prayer, then that's a good story.
They couldn't see that.
They couldn't see it. And so when I told them Doug Dodd's story, they were like, what's so big about that? I go, well, I'm going to focus on the fact that all these 5 guys were on the wrestling team. The fact that they were all clean-cut white guys.
That the pills?
The pills. Yeah. So as they were all kind of clean-cut white guys, you wouldn't expect this from. It was the beginning of the pill mill epidemic. Yeah. So I started explaining everything. And they were just like, and you think you're going to get him in a magazine? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, all right. So I finished the synopsis, write it. I move on to something else, but I mail it out to about 8 different reporters. A couple of them come back. One guy comes back and says, I can do the story. Then we get the story done. Then it ends up in Rolling Stone magazine. And I'm talking about little pieces here and there. And then one day I walk in and boom. I said, hey, you're not going to get Doug Dodd that you said I couldn't get it. And they're like, he's a motherfucker. And I'm like, yeah, Rolling Stone magazine. Hey, that's my name right there. Look, I wrote it. And they're like, oh my God.
I remember.
So then within that goes out, and they were like, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? I said, well, now I'm going to take the article and I'm going to send out about 50 different literary agents. I'm going to get a literary agent that's going to get me a book deal. And they're like, man, how's that going to happen? I said, I don't know. They're like, you think you can do that? I said, no, but I didn't think I could get him into Rolling Stone magazine either. I thought, I'm going to try. What happened? Do you know how many things, even to this day, I try that don't work?
Yeah.
But I wanted to be on Jordan Belfort's, Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
I want to be on his podcast, right? Not so much because I care about being on his podcast that it's not going to help us, right? It's not going to give. I'm going to get, if I'm on Belfort's podcast, it's going to get me 50 new subscribers.
Right.
His crowd is not my crowd. His crowd is a business crowd. But I'd like to go so I can get photos with him so that I can say like, hey, I was on Soft White Underbelly. I was on Vlad. Right. I was on Valuetainment. I was on Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. I want to be able to say that.
Right.
So you know what I did? I made 4 small paintings of Jordan Belfort. And I packaged them up and I sent them to his house and he got them and he signed for them and he got them with a letter saying, hey, my name's Matt Cox. I have a podcast. Here's who I am, and explain the whole thing. Check out my podcast. I'd love to come to Miami and be on your podcast. I have a redemption story, blah, 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 right? Never heard from Jordan Belfort. Was that a waste of time? No, I don't need to hear from him.
Right.
I've sent, what was it? Do you know what happened with that? With
I don't know.
Grant Cardone? No, Grant Cardone, sorry. Graham Stephan. Graham Stephan is another guy. He's got a huge podcast. And then the truth is, honestly, Colby could make a couple calls. Like if I was willing to fly out to Vegas, I'd probably could be on the Iced Coffee Hour. Like he could probably make a couple calls and I'd probably be on the Iced Coffee.
Right.
That's one of this guy's podcast. I made some screen prints of Graham Stephan and his wife or his girlfriend, fiance. Same thing. Made a few, packaged them up, sent them to him. Graham got them, and Graham, through my booking agent, said, "Thanks, I really appreciate it." Well, I really, not what I wanted. I wanted you've got to come out.
Right.
But honestly, I probably could have anyway. We just made a few phone calls. But I'm saying, like, I've mailed off. I remember this guy. Do you remember the big black guy? His name was, I wrote a story called The Gap about him. His name is Donovan Davis. He got like 17 years for a Ponzi scheme that had nothing to do with him. Anyway, he was he's Jamaican. He's Jamaican, but he's actually got heritage from India. Okay. There's a huge Indian population in Jamaica.
Right.
So anyway, wrote his story. I sent off his story to probably 30 reporters. I never really, I actually did get a bite. I got a bite from somebody, but then she said it was too complicated for her and she wanted to write a story on me instead. So even though that seemed like a waste of time, it did help. Right. It did something. I've written lots of letters that went nowhere. I've done lots of things that went nowhere. And just like I didn't think I could get those kids into Rolling Stone or GQ or any national magazine, I didn't think I could get a book deal either. But it's worth writing. So what did I do? I wrote 50 letters. Sure enough, got a book deal. Have a book that was on Barnes and Nobles. We got a check. And then we optioned the life rights. Didn't even know what optioning the life rights really was. We optioned the life rights for them. I got a check. When I got to the halfway house, I got another check. They optioned it again. Like I hit the halfway house for $400. And I went to Walmart, spent $300, had about $90 left.
Right.
On my little card, the card.
Yeah.
Just pitch on it. And my ex-wife calls me on my cell phone that my brother bought me, on my cell phone and says, "You got a check here from that law firm." And I go, "Open it." She opens it up. She goes, "It's like $6,000. And I was like,
yes, need that.
Thank God.
I need that.
I wrote those, right? I was able to get a car. I was able to, it changed a ton. And so it's like all those things that I did that weren't supposed to work, that didn't matter because I had all that time and sitting at that table and talking with those guys and even, even hashing out different, how to say this, how would you say that? How would you, those guys kept me, they kept me sharp by the constant back and forth, right. And they were hilarious,
right?
I mean, and I didn't fit in there at all. Like I was the odd man. But what was so funny about that was I always had a place to stay. because I didn't always get there first. Like sometimes I'd walk in,
Right.
and Kay would be there, and nobody's sitting there. So you've got this library, by the way. People are standing up everywhere. Standing up, sitting at the tables, standing up, and you've got one guy sitting at a table where you've got 5 seats sitting there, and nobody's sitting down. Guys would go to sit down, and he'd be like, "You don't sit there, don't sit there." And the guy would be like, "Wow, I'm gonna sit here." Nobody. He's like, "I'll beat your fuck," and they go, "Oh," and they get up alone and move, or he'd sit down, and then everybody else would sit down. Sometimes you get somebody who'd be like, they just sit there like, I'm not moving. And then you'd have Snoop or somebody walk over and stand there and just stare at the guy and say, "I'm telling you, you need to get up right now. You want to get up right?" And the guy'd be like, "Oh shit," and they'd get up and leave. At the same time, if I got there, I'd put books on all the things and be like, "Then bro, somebody's sitting here," and I'd be like, "I swear to God, you don't want to sit here. I mean, I'm doing you a favor right now. You don't want to be here with me." And if enough people, they see it, they know, and they're like, "Yeah, don't sit."
That's why I was surprised when them guys, I think they were from Tampa, came in and they put the books in our spot. They was a heavy set guy. He came in with his clay, he was teaching something. I don't know what he was doing.
Oh yeah, and they were gonna, yeah. This is a mistake.
Yeah, it's a mistake. We're not doing it.
Like, I'm trying to help you, bro.
Yeah, we're not doing it.
Like, I'm not gonna do anything.
I had like 12 bloods coming up the next morning. Like, nah, we're not doing it. That's over with. Y'all know we see it's like a table full of sex offender. Why y'all go make them move? I wish I would have still tried to sit in our seats, but
that was good because it was like when you were sitting there, it was helping. It was like helping everybody. It was like, look, like, "Oh, I can't write a book." Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You don't have to write a book today. Today, write the first page of an outline.
Right. And one thing about me, I was different from them because all of them want to write urban novel. I write all self-help books. Like this book right here, Product of My Environment, simply came from me saying, I'm gonna change the narrative of people saying, "Oh, I sold drugs, so I did it because I'm a product of my environment." Everybody in my neighborhood didn't sell drugs. Everybody in my neighborhood didn't gangbang. Everybody in my neighborhood didn't break law. Some people got up and went to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I decided that, and you know, it's crazy because sitting there with you and the other writers at the table and just paying attention. It was another older guy. You can see it a little farther now, but just paying attention. I used to listen to exactly what you just said. And one of the reasons why I shied away from writing urban novel, because I was just like, okay, I could write a self-help book, and even if the book don't sell, I can get speaking engagements off of it. So that's what I get now. Like, I go to schools and speak. Like, I get $3,000 to go speak at a school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like $250 an hour for me to come and do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Basically, and I'm just taking the book. I just had a guy comment there, like, "We want to buy 30 of your books. We want you to head in the book club." It's like, okay, you can buy 30 books, but we got a whole other conversation about me heading to the book club. Just because you buy the books don't mean I'm gonna come in and teach out of the book. No, you gotta pay me to teach out of the book. So me watching you with, okay, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna get a book deal, or then I'm gonna try to get a movie deal. I was like, okay. So this what I'm gonna go this route. I'm gonna write self-help book, and I'm gonna get to doing speaking engagements off of it, and that's how I ended up writing all the books. And it was so crazy because I remember when I was at Coleman, and Kay to tell you this story. The CEO, because remember I always had this white guy, James Manning, with me all the time. He was my editor. He was just like my editor.
Right.
And then it's crazy how I figured out that he could edit. I heard him read the Bible, and he was reading it so fluent, like he ain't skip a beat. Like, he got to be able to edit my book.
Right.
So I ended up befriending on James, and he ended up editing my book. And so we would be in this room. If I'm not in the library or working out, I'm in this room. I didn't go watch TV. I didn't do that. I was in this room every day writing. And they thought I was extorting James.
Right.
Like, they called me in the office and asked me all these questions, asked James all these questions, like, am I extorting James? Because it was just me, James, and Kay basically in the room all the time. You know, you building on these stories and these books that I was putting together. But I remember the counselor after getting Nowinski. That's his name. I just came up his name. It was Nowinski. They moved him down from B to A, I think. He went in and basically broke the typewriter.
Why?
I think he thought I was doing law work because I was always in there. Me and James and Kay, I'm always in there writing these books. So I guess he felt like I was writing law work because he asked me. Ain't no guess, he asked me. And I was just like, I'm writing books. I guess looking at me like, nah, he ain't writing books. He got to be here trying to do some law work or some shit. But he ended up breaking the typewriter. Me and Kay ended up going in and fixing the typewriter. He broke the when you sit the cartridge on
right,
the wheel. He broke it. So we went in, we fixed it. It's like 2 days later, I came in, he had threw the whole typewriter in the trash can. But all I did was got my homework from A3 to still build typewriter. And I heated up under my bed and myself.
So, you telling me this right now? I remember this whole thing because I remember Pete, my buddy Pete, talking about how there was a typewriter missing in one of the units, and it was a big deal. And what's wrong with these guys? And I have never, like, if I told Pete that story right now, he'd be like, "Oh my God!" Like, because they never, like,
I had it up on my bed. I put it up under my bed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's funny because, I think sitting at that table and having that time and trying to do something with that time, teaches what helped to teach me long-term planning.
Yeah,
and
not a doubt.
And it's just, and that it's not that it's incremental little gains every day, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit. And guys used to say all the time, like, "Man, you must write fast." Like, no, I write slow.
Yeah, I just write every day.
Right, I just write a lot. I write every day, and I rewrite it, and because there's no great writers, there's great rewriters.
Yeah,
and so nobody sits down and just knocks it out. So you just write it and write it. And I was like, look, sometimes I'll spend a whole day and I'll end up with, like, I would spend 5 hours and end up with one paragraph.
Right.
Some days I spend all day and I'd end up with 3 pages. Mm-hmm. It's in the end, over the long term, one day you look back and you go, holy shit, I'm done. I got a book. And so, those, I feel like those things really helped in the long term. And doing that and sitting at that table and having those guys have that table available helped me write books that to this day I'm getting checks from.
Right.
Like, I have passive, and it's not a ton of passive income.
Yeah, but it's passive.
You get $1,000 extra a month. For me, $1,000 is a lot of fucking money.
Right.
And it's because I was sitting at that table. Same thing. Because I'm sitting at that table, I'm optioning stories. And now I get out and I'm able to option stories that I wrote 7, 8
years ago.
10 years ago.
Right.
Stories that you get, they're not huge options, but you get a check in for $3,500. $3,500 is a lot of money to me.
Right.
It may not have been a lot of money to me before I went to prison, but it's a lot of money to me now. And it's money that I'm getting that took nothing now. It's something I made that money 12 years ago.
Right.
And it is all from sitting at that table.
I tell you, that's just like me, for instance. I have to show you a picture of my phone there, but I probably got this much material. And it started at that table. I just kept writing through my bed though. Like, I started sitting at that table, sitting around y'all, just watching, doing my little writing here. I got so many books. I probably never have to write another book. I will have to rewrite some of the material.
Yeah.
But I got so many books, movies. I wrote a full sitcom, full TV series, web series. I got so much material. Like, my problem right now is which book do I publish now?
Right.
Like, I created my own publishing company because I didn't have, I tried to go your route. The literary agents and all that.
No, they don't want anything to do with it.
I just went, just created my own shit.
Well, that's why I publish everything on Amazon now.
Yeah.
Because they're I don't want to say they're useless, but for, I don't know. I had 2 books published. Mm-hmm. I've made more money on Amazon than I ever made off of those books.
Right.
And I'm glad I had them published. I'm not saying I'm not glad, but I just feel like I've made more money. And I think that in publishing, you have the guys that are bestsellers who make a chunk of money, and then you have the guys that aren't bestsellers who make nothing,
right,
or very little. So, but yeah, I always love the fact that we had that table. I just wish those guys would have listened to me, because they never really got out of that thinking. It was even after they would write one Harvard novel, they started on another one, and I would sit there and go, bro, write your story. Why don't you write not just your story? Why don't you write his story? Because maybe it's hard to write your story. It being,
I was just about to say that. I think, and in the beginning, I tried to write a story about my life, and I also tried the urban novel. But you said something about sensationalizing the lifestyle. I lost so much and been through so much with that lifestyle. Like I really could never really sit down and write it. You know what I mean? Like I really lived that life. Like I really been shot. I really don't, I really lived that life. So it would take somebody else to really spend time with me and learn it and then write it. But just sensationalizing that lifestyle, writing all this, broke out of the courtroom and I had 500 keys of cocaine. I just could never sit down and write it because I was just like, why would I sensationalize something that cost me to lose so much? So I took pieces of my life that I felt comfortable with talking about, and I just wrote books on it, self-help books on it.
Right.
That people can read, that they can get something from, they can learn something from, you know what I mean? You can learn the consequences of this shit instead of the urban life, you know what I mean? The Bentleys and that shit is not happening. That shit's not happening.
It's funny going to prison too and being around those guys and writing some of those guys' stories. Like, I mean, you're saying like some of the people in your neighborhood went and they had jobs, they had this, but typically, so, and obviously you have 10 kids all raised by their mother or their grandmother, and you're going to have, 5 of them are going to go into selling drugs and crime, and 5 may go get a regular job and be a regular person, but had those 10 kids, had a husband, had a father and a mother, and been in a better situation, then maybe only 2 of those kids would have gone. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. In my opinion, from reading these stories about these guys, and what's even funnier is you read some of the, like Snoop, and his brother, Hawkins, his last name is Hawkins, DV, DeVell Hawkins. Mm-hmm. Snoop and DV, like, if you read their life, like bro, like they just didn't have a chance.
Right. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like I prior to going to prison and probably prior to writing all the different stories and hearing the different, because, although I've written a bunch of books, I've written like 24 synopses, and I've heard way more stories than I ever wrote. Right. Like you tell me, guys would come and they'd tell me a story, and we'd spend 3 hours listening to the guy's story, and unfortunately, it wasn't good enough. Like, it's not good enough for me to devote three months of my time to write your story. And I'm sorry. And it's a great story. It's a tragic story. Right. You were raised in the projects. Right. Your mother was a prostitute. Your father's in and out of fucking jail. Your brother sold drugs. This guy sold drugs. Everybody you knew that had any money at all sold drugs. And I hear, right. That the problem is, if you're a middle-class white kid hearing that story, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. But the truth is, being in prison and hearing those stories over and over again, right? It's like, this isn't unique. No. Like, unfortunately, that's not a unique story. It's a tragic story. It's probably an amazing story, but it needs it, for me to dedicate my time to it when I was locked up, it has to have some other element. And what Snoop and DV's story had was, one of the kids they grew up with ended up heading the task force, the drug task force in their county. Mm-hmm. And they started working with him, and he's telling them where the drug dealers are that have money and setting it up so that he's like, there will be no cops in this area at this time from this time. They'll all be here. You guys, and I'll listen to the radio when you guys go and rob this guy. He's probably got $50,000 or $100,000. At the very least, he's got 10 kilos of coke. And they would go in and rob the guy.
Right. I remember.
So he has the same story. The difference in that story is that you're working with, that's training day.
Yeah, that's training day.
So that's worth writing. Right. Even though, but I don't know. So, I mean, yeah, but I really feel like I really feel like those guys, not me, I feel like those guys missed out by not seeing the stories that were all around them. And you know why it was? It's because it's so common to them. Yep. They didn't think anything was common about their story. They would tell me the story and I'd be going, holy shit. And they didn't think there was anything special, because they know all their buddies and cousins and friends, and they've all been arrested in and out of jail, dealt with snitches, dealt with crooked cops, it was normal. That's normal.
Everyday life.
So they would rather talk about some guy that ended up, working with the cartel and doing this and had 50 planes. It was like, what are you doing, bro? Right. Like, that's not a story. That's not real.
No.
Anyway, yeah, that's too bad. That's probably like my biggest regret of spending that time there.
Yeah.
Not even the fact that I was in prison,
Right.
at the time.
But that they all had amazing stories. Kay's probably got a great story.
Yeah, K. Especially when you look at K background with his family, like his father, what happened with his father, and who his father was. Got a good background. And I used to tell K, you know, always be like, bro, you need to do this about your story. And I was just like, bro, like my story's so common. It got a lot of tragic in it, you know what I mean? But the success is gonna be what I can sell. The success story part of like, okay, he been through all this, went to federal prison, and what he did afterwards. You know what I mean? Like I could tell the person, I got out of prison, I've been out of the halfway house again some month. Within that year, some month, I got a 30-day clearance to work with the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Right. Well, that's what you're doing.
That's what I'm doing now. You know
Now,
what I mean? Going to talk to the kids and stuff, teens that been in trouble. I've published a book. I've created a company called My Creative Game Plan that focuses on financial literacy within the poverty communities. What else? So I do so much shit. Now I do a lot of speaking engagements. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
but this is a series of books, right? There's other books behind this one.
here's other books. So the next book that I'm contemplating, you're gonna like this title. The next book that I'm thinking about putting out is called 21 Keys: How to Get Through to the Hard Headed Without Smacking Them.
It's a long bio.
It's a long title. This primary title is Connect, Set, Restart. Connect with them, set better examples, restart their thinking. So it's just like the success story what I eventually be able to say, and if I could become successful doing what everything that I'm put forth effort doing as far as saving the community, getting the gang violence down, the gun violence, all the shit. But my biggest problem is that they don't trust me. They still thinking that I'm doing something or I'm gonna do something, or they waiting on
You mean the authorities?
the authorities, county commissioners, everybody.
You know what would be a good one for like high school students or junior high students is a book, or not even a book. It could be just a synopsis. It would be 10 or 15, 20 pages. Is just the sentencing guidelines. Like kids have no
Like that.
idea
At all. I didn't have an idea.
how much trouble they think, oh, I'm just selling a little meth here, a little meth here, a little meth. You sold meth 4 times and you turn around and they're charging you with like half a key of meth and you're looking at 25 years, or you cooperate against these guys, or you plead guilty and take 10 years and you're like, I'm 19 years old. I've sold drugs 4 times. Yeah, but we also have somebody who said you've been doing this since you were 50. When I was 15, I sold a little here, a little there. I stopped for 3 years. Nah, it doesn't matter. We're going to add up everything from 15 to everybody say it. Right, that's what they said. And if you don't, then if you go, well, then go to trial.
Yeah.
Because you go to trial and we're going to get 4 of your buddies to testify against you. Or guess what? We'll just hold you without bail. And we'll get 3 guys
in the jail
that don't even know you,
and let them come to court on you.
and they'll testify that you told them that.
See, a lot of people they talk about the Fed you can't beat the Fed. It's the tactics. I remember my federal judge, and I was like, man, I'm going to try. And I remember dudes looking me dead in my eyes and said, this is not the state. We do accept hearsay.
Yeah.
And I just went back to my cell, and I was just like,
What's that? Man? What do you mean? I was you can't.
so it just what anybody say.
Yeah.
And I figured it out. Shit.
That was Selly. Can go get on your cellmate. They locked you up for 2 weeks. Your cellie in prison will say, he told me that he was a part of the conspiracy with that guy. And if you think the feds won't put that cellie in a room and hand you the indictment along with all the FBI 302s or the DEA 6s and let him read all about your case,
They'll put it right on the stand.
and he'll sit there. They'll know blatantly that he's lying. Because keep in mind, even if he got on the stand and turned around and said, you know what, I am lying. He didn't say that. The AUSA stuck me in a room, gave me all the DEA 6s, let me read up on the case, and told me he'd cut me loose if I testified against it. Do you know what happened to that U.S. attorney? And then they could prove that they did remove him and put him in a room and give him all that stuff. Right. Do you know what happened to the U.S. attorney? Nothing. The judge would say, this is a horrible, egregious act.
That's it.
Don't do that again.
That's it. That's it.
Prosecutorial, they have immunity.
Man, people don't care.
They can't be prosecuted.
Don't boy. I tell people all the time, hey, just stay state. And it's so crazy because when I was in the state prison, I was telling them, hey, gonna take the feds to come get me. That's all I was saying. Boy, they're gonna take the Fed. They came right and got me too. That's, you know, a lot of people say that. A lot of people that go to state prison for selling drugs or say shit like they gonna take the. I'm going Fed this time. I'm going Fed this time. Like that should have badge on or something. I should have stayed state.
That's a mistake.
I should have never fucked with them people.
You know what? There's only one situation I know of that you're better off in the state, or I'm sorry, you're better off in the feds, is like with like oxycodone, like the pills.
Yeah.
In the state of Florida, and they changed this like 5-6 years ago. They were weighing the pills. So the weight, so it could be a 5 milligram pill that 5 milligram pills weighs less than a 20 milligram pill. But they would weigh the pills, and they had a weight scale for, well, you had this much weight of oxy, and they would charge you. And so you'd end up getting, even though you had a bunch of this one brand that weighed more, and they would charge you, and you'd end up getting these mandatory minimum sentences of like 10 years, 20 years. But if you were to go to the Fed, they would charge you for the actual milligram of how much it really was.
Right.
And you'd end up with 4 or 5 years as opposed to these ridiculous mandatories.
That was right.
And that's still if you're first time. Now, if you're second time, then of course in the Feds, they start tacking on all the different criminal history, and you're fucked. But there's 1 or 2 very slim scenarios where you're probably better off in the Fed than you are the state.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're right. State. Even though let's face it, the prisons in the federal system are way nicer than the state prisons, right?
People way nicer.
Yeah.
The people way nice. You go to the state prison, you got to get you a knife.
I don't even like hearing about the guys
state
who
prison. They're
talk about prison. He would tell prison stories.
Yeah.
I feel anxious just hearing the stories. I don't even want to hear the story.
I was just telling Kobe, my brother, he was in the state prison. He never should have been in prison. That's a whole nother situation. Like, they literally sent him to prison for nothing, just because his last name was Luke. Got him 10-year prison, 10-year banishment. And we end up fighting and getting him out like 3 years later. But he never should have been in prison. And I remember somebody called me like, "Hey, bro, somebody here last name Luke." I'm like, "Oh, that's my little brother. They sent my little brother down there." So I like, watch out for my little brother, make sure he's straight. He ain't gonna bother nobody. He in his own world. He good kid. Big old dude, blood dude, pushed up on my little brother. He came calling me like, "Bro," I'm like, "Who the fuck this dude is?" Like, I don't know that. I like, "Bro, he just go protect you, make sure you're good." Like, not that you need it, because you stand on your own too. But I was like, "Call, hey man, make sure my brother's straight while he in there. Like, y'all better watch out for my brother." But it was so crazy because he was in what we call gangland in the state of Georgia. He never should have been there. He was only there because they had labeled him as a blood and all this other shit. And he was only there for that, and that was a rough ass prison. And I was like, yeah, he still on his own too. But man, nothing but I had my little brother while he in there. And he called home like, "Bro, this big old dude just like, you straight, bro. He just gonna watch over you." Like, basically, tell the folks, leave me the fuck alone. I don't know them. I don't want to be around them. That shit over with. But state prison is way different. Way different. But the feds give you so much time. I'd rather go in there and wrestle with them gorillas and lions for a few years
than do 10 years in the
120 months, 240 months.
Yeah. That's the worst, because you get sentenced and you got to do math.
Hey, listen.
They're like 232 months. You're like, oh shit. That's it. How much time is that? That's 20 years.
I remember when I got sentenced, and the judge was like, "You got 144 months." It automatically clicked at me like 12 times 12, 144. Like, I remember looking back at my mom, my grandma, when they was sitting back like, this no bullshit. They sit back, count that shit up. When I look back again, everybody was crying. They added that shit up. That's 12. They added that. Wait. That's a long time. I'll never forget that shit. Like, those folks got there, added that shit up. I look back, it was like this. I look back, everybody was crying. I was happy though. 12 years, I could work that. I could go take care of that. The 25 with the 260s and all that, I couldn't do nothing with that. Yeah, that was just a little too long for me.
What else? We got anything else you can think of? Talk about?
Let me see. Trying to see that anything I could have elaborated on that I didn't elaborate on.
You got to do a book on the federal guidelines.
Yeah, I could do a book on that too, because they are very oblivious to they doing a lot of RICO and not for that gang shit. Well, that's kind of like my fight now, is trying to keep them from, because a lot of people gonna get a lot of time for that shit. They're just around. You know what I mean? They just took a picture with them and they posted it on Facebook with them. They're gonna get a lot of time for it. So that's my fight now is to try to keep the RICO from just tangle. They gonna, this is like the conspiracy bag with the crack epidemic. They just now it's just the RICO Act. So now I work with like Reform, you know what I mean, which is Mick Mills and Jay-Z them organized. I don't know them, but like the person who was over Reform in the state of Georgia. I've been working with her. I work with this organization called Offender Alumni Association. It's a national recognized organization that they combat recidivism. I fought with route with credible messengers. You know, I just been trying to do a whole bunch of shit, man, to just start that RICO, cause that shit gonna tie some shit up.
What I don't get is that, like, you could put somebody now with technology, you could put somebody on an ankle monitor and monitor them all the time, everywhere. Like, there's just no reason to lock people up with the amount of time they're locking people up. If you're a non-violent offender, like,
it don't make no sense.
Yeah. Not only that, you can say, hey, here's where you work, here's your travel area, here's where you live, here's the grocery store you go to. That's your area. If you go outside of that area, you know what I'm saying? Like, it notifies you wherever you're going, but that you need to stay in that area.
This gonna hurt a lot of people. Only way we would have got it there, Trump would have still stayed in office. That's the only way we would have got it there. I'll tell you that now. That's the only way we get to that is Trump staying off. This one I always like the Trump because Trump gonna piss on your tail, piss.
You're gonna get canceled.
I don't care. But I like Trump. But I'm gonna tell you. So I remember this. I remember being I was at Edgefield, and I remember talking to an officer there, and he was the head of the the union shit. He was the head of the union. He was just like, damn, I need Biden. We need Biden to win. So like, hold on, time out. The guys out here who were incarcerated, they're cheering for Joe Biden. They want Biden to be the president. Somebody right. If the people who over the prison want Biden to be president, there's no way I want Biden to be president. It's no way. So I was like, I asked him, I said, why do you want Joe Biden to be president? He said, because Biden gonna give us the money. He said, Trump takes the money away from us. And it dings on me. When I first came in the system, remember they had the three bunks in one cell?
Right.
Trump the one told them to take that third bunk up out of there. Trump is the reason why that third bunk is not in them cells anymore. If you go back and look at it, when Trump became president and he started doing, rearranging the federal laws and doing the stuff he was doing, he the one stopped that. Biden came in, you heard about nothing else.
Oh, with prison reform?
Hell
no.
No.
Well, I mean, Trump signed in a law like the Second Chance Act. He signed like all these things and here's what my buddy Pete likes to say. Well, he didn't write that. That was already there. Right. It was there. It's been there for years. No president signed it.
Nobody signed it.
Trump came in and said, yeah, I'll sign
it.
And he signed the one that said, remember, you're supposed to get 15% good time.
Yep.
The way they calculate it, it's 87.5%. Mm-hmm. So you were getting screwed out of I forget what it was, 9 days a year.
Yep. And Trump came in the game, and
not only did he sign it, he signed it retractive.
Right.
The guys that are in there, you have to give them that time back.
Yep. Start adding it. That's your ass.
So there was literally, there's all these, was it huge? Maybe it wasn't huge, but it was all these little things that could have been done the whole time that the Democrats didn't do.
No.
And I think to me right now, you could alleviate the budget by saying, look, you got a ton of white collar criminals. You got a ton of nonviolent drug offenses that honestly, they know how serious it is. If you put them on ankle monitors, dump some of that money into probation, get some more probation officers, close some prisons, dump those guys back out, get them working, because each inmate costs, people will say, oh, it's $32,000 a year. No, that's what they allocate for the prison.
Right.
What it actually does, it also removes money out of that you're not contributing to society. It really, the figure is over $50,000 a year that incarcerating someone costs costs society.
Taxpayers.
Right. So why would I pay $30-something thousand to incarcerate you and lose the money you would be paying in for taxes? Why wouldn't I put you out there, have you pay your own stuff, and put you to work and have you monitored? I can monitor and piss test you
whenever I want to.
Whenever you want to. And you've got a probation officer like that. The problem is nobody wants to get behind that because so many people make money off the prisons.
Yes, all kinds of ways.
So they don't want to get behind that. And it's an easy sell if you're trying to get elected. I'm I'm hard on crime. Yeah, but you could probably be smart on crime and dump more of that money into education, because if you're more educated,
I call
you know,
it
less
being
chance.
reactive instead of proactive. So one of my slogans is you can't lock the problem up. You cannot lock the problem up. And I can't tell you how many times when I say that, and especially if it's law enforcement and it's politicians around, when I say that, oh man, we got to get into a full-fledged argument. But and they always use this analogy with me. If someone shoots you, you don't want them to go to jail. And I said, yeah. I said, but what I want you to do is let's put something in place for me not to get shot. Because once I'm shot, I become a victim. If I die, I ain't no coming back. So let's put something in place before I get shot.
Right.
That ain't the conversation they want to have, because you got, like you just talked about, the money. Now we got to reallocate some of these funds. We got to do something different with this money. We got to come up with some different preventative measures. We got to put some other things in place. They just not ready for that conversation. They just want to lean on, we're going to lock them up. We're going to lock them up. We're going to lock them up. If locking up help, drugs got worse.
Yeah. I was just say, you've tried that for 30 some odd years, 40 for 40 some odd years.
Right.
You've tried, like, let's lock everybody up as long as we possibly can afford to. And that obviously has not worked.
It worked.
So maybe there's something else. You know, there's a program right now. I forget what it was. I don't know the name of it, but it's basically, it's like a bunch of fathers who have kids, but they're fathers, and they go into like middle schools and high schools, and they're in there and they basically shepherd kids that don't have fathers.
I think I've seen.
And they talk to them, they mentor them, and they're in the they go in the middle schools and high schools, and then they, of course they mentor them outside of high school and everything. But they're like, you know, the thing is like that those parental role models that are missing. And let's face it, let's say your mother and your grandmother were adamant that you were going to do the right thing and pushed you and yelled at you and did everything. The fact is, by the time you were 13, you were uncontrollable.
Yeah, I was.
So you think a 35-year-old woman is going to control a 13-year-old boy? You're nuts. He's going to do whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
So it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, they try and get in there early, and they're curbing all the fights and the shootings and the guns and everything that's going on in these communities. To like they were having fights. They said every day they were having multiple fights every single day at the school. These guys came in and they said they hadn't had a fight in like 6 months in the school.
Right.
Just because they're there.
And one thing, like with the Finn Alumni Association, where I work with, I have my own organization called Owners, which stands for Opportunity Nationally Nice Society. I looking to bring in people just like you, because you've been through it. See, you've been through it. You know exactly. You just told me. I didn't think about writing a book about the citizen guideline. They're so, I won't say scared of their reputations or whatever, but they don't want to work with us. Right. They don't want to work with the felons that don't been through it. They would rather just stick us over here in this corner and whatever happens. So if I tell organizations that I deal with, we talk about what would I do with the funds. I always say shit like, I go get somebody that was in prison and just pay them to be on Zoom and teach them people real estate or teach them people stock market, same shit that I learned, because that's what gave me the different mindset of saying, I don't have to sell drugs, I don't have to rob. So if I learn stock market, I can make this amount of money. If I learn to keep my, do credit repair, make sure my credit is good, and I can learn how to flip houses, I don't have to sell drugs. Because when you look at it, you look at the mathematics, when we just talked about it, selling drugs is a 24/7 job. Mm-hmm. When you look at the amount of time you spend selling drugs and the amount of money you make, it just doesn't add up. So when you get people like, I'm still
throw incarceration in there.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother different. Not even. I'm glad you just said that, because guess what? For real, I'm glad you said that, because people always ask me all the time, how did I become Travis Luke? And I said, I don't know. I said, but it's the worst thing ever. I say, people want to be in my shoes so bad, right? It's the worst thing ever, because we just talked about incarceration, but I'm gonna give you one even deeper. If somebody wanted to kill me today, I would never see it coming, because I've been in tour with so many different people, different cities, different states. I've been in tour with so many different people. So me choosing their lifestyle to become a leader in Bloods and do all this other shit that I've done, it's like if that door not slammed right now, it gonna shake me up. Any movement, I have to live the rest of my life like that. If it's gonna come, I don't know where it's gonna come from. I don't know when karma gonna catch on to me, or they think you killed this person, they think you did this to this person. I don't know when somebody, a son or brother may just be like, man, I'm gonna kill it. I don't know when it's gonna come. So I gotta live every day of my life like, damn, where it's gonna come from. I don't know where it's gonna come. And if we sit in a room, Matt, and if somebody get to moving too much around, I'm gonna pay attention to everything. So I got to live my life that way. So we're gonna get before you get to the incarceration. I tell people this all the time. I was more happy and comfortable locked up than I was free.
Yeah.
Because I could kind of, it was condensed. I could kind of know, like, it could be him, it could be him, it could be him. Out here, I never know when it's gonna come. I don't know how it's gonna come. I don't know if it's gonna come. But just in the back of my head, I never have a relaxed day. It's the same shit with me losing my fingers. If I grab this book, grab this microphone, shake your hand, shake Kobe hand, I'm always conscious of my fingers being missing. So I got to constantly every day think about my little brother being killed. These are the consequences of our actions that we never think about, that these kids don't calculate into making these bad decisions. You know, I didn't calculate, okay, when I got in the gang, I never knew I was going to become this gang leader. I never knew that I would have a state up under me. I just left Fitzgerald, Georgia, and I was telling them people in Fitzgerald, like, I don't care how many kids it is, I'm going to come over here and talk to these kids and help these kids, because I call shots over here and I never been here. It was people up under me in this. I wouldn't even know how to get there without a GPS. But I'm over these places. I'm over these places around the state that I've never been to. Got people looking up to me, following, doing shit that I think they should do. So you never calculate. I was speaking on Turner Jarco, and I had there was a bunch of kids, and I'm talking to this one little kid, because I'm very conscious of. I ain't gonna say he was a teen. I'm very conscious of what goes on around me, so I'm paying attention. And when we finished spoke, he walked up to me. He was from. I ain't gonna say what part of Atlanta he from, but he came up to me. And he shook my hand, he looked in my eyes, and he said, I forgive you. And I'm like, you forgive me for what? He said, look at me real good. He said, I don't look like somebody. And I'm just looking. It still don't dawn on me. I still don't know what he talking about. Until like 2 days later, I was like, oh, he looked like, and then I go look it up like, oh, this must be his son. I don't know. He just a kid. My girl over here, she'll tell you the same thing. And if I couldn't think straight for a few days, because we in all you're not hard to find.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And I don't know him. I didn't know what I'd done. He could have called his people and said, I see such as he home. He ain't all been in. And I want to know where it come from.
I was watching, is it Michael Franzisky? Franzisky? Frenzy, I forget his name, but he's a mobster. And I want to say it was him who somebody said, well, there's have you heard that there's a hit out on you? And he said, yeah, I've heard that. And he said, are you worried? He said, no, I'm not worried. He said, I'm not worried about the mobsters that I dealt with and that I knew. He said, because they're at a point where they're not going to do anything. He said, they're at a point where they know me, they know what happened, they understand. He said, my fear is that some young guy trying to make his name for himself decides, I happen to know where this guy is and where he's going to be at a certain time, and thinks he's going to make a name for himself by hitting me. Right. He said, that's my fear. He goes, but I don't live my life, he said, really worrying about it, because he said, he's basically the same thing. He said, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's nothing
I can't stop it.
Right. Nothing I can do.
See it come.
But that's his fear. So your fear is of something that you did 20 years ago.
Coming back.
And not only coming back, because this guy doesn't even have a beef with you. Right. His whole thing is, I'm trying to make a name for myself. Right. I don't have a problem with you. I don't really know who you are. I don't really know what happened, but I know that if I'm the guy
that notch under my belt,
right, that is known for killing you, then that means something. Everybody will be impressed by that. Like, are you fucking serious? Right. Like, that's what I have to look out for? An absolute fly in the ointment I have no control over.
No control over.
Nah.
And there is just no way to live. I remember I was in this restaurant called Cracker Barrel. I was in Cracker Barrel eating one time.
You love Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
I do. Jess and I eat there all the time.
Well, I'm more comfortable at Cracker Barrel, but I like it. So I'm in Cracker Barrel and I'm in there eating. And this lady walked up to me out of the blue. And she like, I think you should leave the restaurant. I'm like, shit, I ain't going nowhere. What you mean? I ain't going nowhere. And she was like, so you ain't gonna leave. So one of us got to go. And I was like,
I'll miss you.
in the shame on the door. And she said, you supposed to be responsible for my son being killed. And I said, huh? I don't know who you is. I don't know who your son is. But it didn't surprise me because my reputation always made the police ask, do you know Travis Luke?
Right.
See, so something happened. Do you know? I don't even yet. These people question my old homeboy got killed. They went there to his mama and basically tried to make her feel like I had something to do with it. Like the police in my city just always Travis Luke. It's always me. So every time something happened, they bring my name up. So people gonna be like, damn, well maybe why they saying his name?
Oh, people will create a situation.
Yes,
that is completely completely wrong, just based on a hunch, because they want to justify in their mind that they know what happened.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I don't know what happened. I heard this, I heard that, but I don't really know what happened. You know, how many times does somebody end up going to prison for, you know, a life sentence because 3 people think they know what happened and come to find out it was a vagrant that was passing through the area, and then a DNA test shows that person raped and killed somebody that you're in prison for.
That's how I asked.
Like,
Man, I would
remember that interview I did of the guy, he's now a lawyer up in New York, fucking kid who's like 15 years old, who's kind of an outcast, you know, he's kind of a geeky kid who had a couple classes with another student, right, a middle school student, and was at home playing with some of his friends in his little apartment complex a mile or 2 away from where this girl cut through the woods and ended up getting raped and murdered. So they did a profile of who it is, and that the profile was absolutely wrong. It's definitely somebody who knows her because she was covered. It's definitely, so we know her, so they knew her, probably one of her friends, probably somebody from the high school, probably somebody who's an outcast. They go and start talking to kids at the high school. They say, well, look, you know, there is this kind of one kid, he's a little off. They know each other. They have some classes. And you ask him, he's like, yeah, I did know her. Like, I knew her. She was in a couple classes. Like, we knew enough to say hi. That was it. I've never had a conversation. Well, the cops get him. He's 15 years old. They get him in a room. They keep him in the room for 8 hours. They eventually get him to a point where he's in tears. He's crying. He's on the floor. They convince him to plead guilty, because if he doesn't say he's did it, then the cops are going to hurt him. They're outside waiting for him. So he ends up saying yes. They say, you just say your yes, you can go home. We'll figure it out later. Basically say this so I can get you out of the building. Mm-hmm. He says yes. He doesn't get out of the building. They arrest him. He goes to jail. He ends up, maybe he was 16 or 17. Yeah, 16. So he ends up going to jail. He ends up going to trial, because now once he gets a lawyer, he's like, I didn't do this. There's semen there, by the way, which they're saying was his semen. They test the semen, come back and say, okay, it's not his semen. But the girl was promiscuous. Now they're lying about the victim. The prosecutor said she's promiscuous. She had sex with this boy earlier that she was dating. Never test the boy. So he goes to trial. He loses. He appeals it. He loses. He appeals that, like the Supreme Court won't hear it. He does a search of, I forget what they call it. They deny it. He's in jail. He's writing letters. He writes letters to the Innocence Program. They turn him down 3 times. Eventually, by this whole time, 16 years later, eventually CODIS comes online. They tested the DNA against him. It said it wasn't him. They just put it on somebody else. But there was no CODIS. There was nothing to compare it to other than him. So finally, he begs and pleads, and somebody at the Innocence Program, some low-level lawyer who had just come there, eventually says, can we at least test it against CODIS? They tested against CODIS. Turns out it's a vagrant that came across her in the woods, raped her, murdered her. They never looked for him. He ended up killing a school teacher 6 months or a year later that had like 3 kids, got convicted of that crime, went to prison. They connect them and find out, guess what? It was him. Had the cops done their job, One, he wouldn't have to spend 16 years in prison plus the millions of dollars they had to pay him.
Right.
And on top of that, they might have caught him before he murdered the school teacher.
Right. Don't tell me.
But those cops were so sure. They made this. They had a hunch based on a bad profile. They found someone that they felt fixed it, and they trained him. Like that. These are the police.
Yeah.
So what does a regular mother do whose son died, and she hears a bit little here, hears a little here, a little bit of conjecture, starts swearing. Next thing she knows for sure you did it.
Especially with my reputation.
Right.
Definitely did it.
Yeah, you did it, or you ordered it, or you told so-and-so, or so-and-so did it on your...
That's it.
Whatever.
That's it. That's just like when I was telling you about the gang task force came to my house, they slammed my little brother.
Right.
So back to the interrogation, I've been interrogated some one time. It's just to give me my lawyer. So
right.
For now, whatever happened from this to point don't mean nothing. But they get me downtown. They always had this thing where they say you go to sleep if you're guilty. No, I'll sleep because I've been in this room for 4 hours.
Right.
No, I this particular time I fell asleep, and as soon as I fall asleep, they rush into the room, making all this noise, racket. So I jump up. I'm like, hey, if y'all attention will make y'all kill me in here. Like, I didn't do the shit. They were trying to put, they were trying to put something on me that I had nothing to do with. It was, I just had nothing to do with the shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they would try to put some on me that I had nothing entirely to do with. And they just were for sure that I had, because I was there and I left. I was at the club and I just happened to leave early. So they just felt like I ordered it to happen, and it just was a big situation. But it's like I had nothing to do with it, but they were for sure that I had something to do with it. And they basically tried to bully me, because I had already asked for a lawyer. Like, what am I here for?
Right.
You're not gonna tell, can I call my lawyer? I got a lawyer on retainer. Let me call my lawyer. They wouldn't let me call my lawyer. They kept my money, my cell phone, and just say keep me out with nothing. So they just right. It's the police's, man. Like I don't know. All of them. I won't say all of them are bad, but like you said, once they concoct that story in their head, that's just it. And it was the same thing. I'm telling you. Every time something happened, I would just go. And then this up in older age, something happened, I just go wait at my grandma's house because I know they coming.
Right.
I just go sit at my grandma's house, like they say such happened or somebody got killed.
Somebody should be stopping by any minute.
Yeah, they'll be here. They coming. And it's crazy, but
okay.
They would just ride up and down the street, one car, until they get the rest of them over there, because they had a rule where no police officer approached me by themselves. They always had to come with the force, like with the task force. They wasn't allowed to take, even my parole officer when I got out of state prison, I seen him out duty, and he was just like, man, these people just like, you such a bad dude. Like, you ever notice when I come to your house to report, I always have 2 or 3 gang task force cars. I was like, yeah, I know. He's just like, I was ordered to never approach you or never come to your community or your neighborhood, rather, by myself. So I always have to alert the gang task force. They don't come in over, and they just basically come over, park up and down the street. Why you report? Why I come by to check your resident? I just like, I don't know, bro.
No, look, you at this point, how long you been out?
2 years.
Yeah.
I've been out of the halfway house. I got out of the halfway house last year in May.
And my sister and brother-in-law are friends with a federal judge, and he told my sister, he said, if he makes it past the first year, he said he's all right. Mm-hmm. He said the first year is the absolute hardest for these guys.
Yes.
He said after that, they pretty much have figured something out to survive, and he'll probably be okay.
You got to think about it, man. I've been hearing about your podcast for a while, and I was like, bro, I'm going to do the podcast. I'm going to do it. I just got to get, because I was still in that stage of trying to figure it out, like, boy, if something don't happen soon,
I'm just trying to pay the rent. No, I
you know what I mean? But I just like, because I didn't want to bring no type of heat your way. You know what I mean? So like, once I get my shit together, know I'm gonna do the right thing, got something to sell, I'm gonna come do the podcast. Because like you say, that first year, it's like, not right now, man. Yeah, I'll get with you later, but not right now, man. Because I'm probably 50-50 about to do something.
Right.
Something got to give. But that first year, but I'm telling you, even now, I got boundaries and obstacles just to even tell my story and help these kids. I'm just not getting my first couple contract with a Turner School with a Fresh Start program and DJJ out of, and I've been doing this October of this year, be a year. I've been in it hard every day, consistently. where they just like, they didn't trust me. You gonna do something? Or the crazy thing ever, they were saying, I'm gonna recruit some gang members. What?
Yeah, from the people I'm talking to, like you don't think I couldn't walk out my front door and recruit some? Like, you really don't understand.
Like, and they don't have a clue. I promise you, they don't have a clue at all. And that's the sad part about it. That's what we talked about earlier, about them bringing in people such as us. You know what I mean? They don't be through it. Instead of them wasting all these millions and millions of dollars on nothing,
right?
They should be allocating them funds toward us and letting us go in and deal with these kids, like the fathers. If no fathers, some of them probably been in prison, some of them might have been through something, but they bring somebody in like me and you that got some type of financial knowledge, they've been in prison, they could tell them a story and they could see it. Like, you may not look at it, but man, we probably went through this when you got out. People probably could just like look at you and be like, oh, he been in prison. Like, it's just me? Yeah, yes. Your demeanor, you probably I was soft as butter. Man, you still got prison on you. You still got prison on you, man. You might want to.
The first year,
you're gonna be chainsaw butt or soft butter. Which one?
The first year or so, everybody that I met that I knew prior to prison, all of them actually said stuff just like, they're like, you're way more aggressive than you ever were before. Like, you're shorter tempered, you're just, and I'm thinking, are you, like, compared to the guys that I was locked up with, I'm like, are you serious? Like, on the masculine scale, they were a 12.
Right.
And I might as well be wearing a dress. Like, you know, but you get out here among everybody and it's like, I'm now an 8. You know,
you're right.
Wow, like, it's so soft out. And of course, let's face it, it's 10 times softer getting out of prison than it was before I went in, because now people don't know if they're guys or men or women, or, you know, you don't know. The society's so confused right now.
Very.
It's like, you got to be kidding me. But I mean, obviously, I don't think I'm. Of course, now I'm so relaxed and you know, gain a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping in a little bit later. I'm actually not sleeping in. I was up at like 4:30 this morning.
Sleep.
No, I wake up. It doesn't matter if I go to bed at 10 or 11. I'm up at 4:30. The guards turn the lights on at 5.
At 5, you know, my brother was rolling over. I was headed out to the gym.
at 4 for the first year I got out at about 4 o'clock, just before 4 o'clock every day. I get anxious. Like, I felt like I need to be. You got to be in your cell waiting.
I'm fighting with that now.
That's and I kept waiting because, you know, after 13 years, I kept waiting, and I really genuinely felt like any day now they're going to come and say, Mr. Cox, turn around, you know, like they fucked up and let me out, like it was an accident. Yeah. That's how bad and that took maybe, I'm going to say 6 months, maybe it was 6 months to a year, but I genuinely kept feeling like they were going to, like, something was going to happen. They were like, be like, yeah, listen, turns out we made a mistake. Yeah. And that took about a year or so.
Because you still had a good little bit of your sentence before you got out.
Yeah, it wasn't quite 13 years. I did a little over, it was like 12, almost 13.
How much you had left before you got released?
When I got released in 2019, you know? So in July, it'll have been this July, it'll be 5 years, and I'll be off probation.
Right.
Which is another thing that hinders you. You know, I can't travel. I can't, you know, and it's because I have a financial crime. I say they're
all
every, you know, like most people, you know, you fill out your report, right? Every month you fill, you know, hey, how much you make? Made this much, made this much. Me, it's I made this much. Here's where it came from. Here's copies of my bank statements. Here's copies of my fucking, you know, it's just nonstop. It's like, it's all these, you got to mail out this, because that form on the computer doesn't allocate for getting a check for a keynote speaking. It doesn't allocate because, you know, it's made for somebody who has a W-2 job.
Right.
It's not made for somebody who got $1,000 here, $500 here, $2,000 here, $1,700 from here. You know, because no one place no one thing pays all the bills. So you can't put that's got two places to put stuff on that form.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, it's a pain.
The scary part with me is, I think last time I see my federal probation officer was in January. My state probation officer,
was it every month?
He just haven't. He haven't came out to the house. I haven't seen him. So in my mind, I think they trying to.
give you enough rope to hang
yourself. You know what I mean? Because I don't see him. And I think when I seen him that one time, I went to find him. Like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you straight. Oh, I got eyes and ears everywhere. If you do something, I'll catch you. Now my state probation officer, that lady right there, oh, she would think she was the federal probation officer. They probably know why they probably, well, she got it. Because this lady worried me to death. You hear me? But my federal, I haven't seen dude. I don't even remember his dude's name. I don't. Honestly, I haven't seen dude since I think he's just.
My PO will call me and be like, where are you? I'm like, I'm at home. This is what happened last time. She goes, I'm at home. She said, well, I just drove by your house. Your car's not there. And I said, I sold my car last month. I sold it like 3-4 months ago. Right. And she's like, why'd you sell your car? I said, because I never use it. I'm paying $600 a month for a car that I never use. And I never leave my house anymore. Right. And she was like, well, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. I said, well, I'll be here. I was like, it was like a backup. Well, okay. Right. Well, she came in, she walked in. She's super nice. Right. She had a recruit with her, like somebody she's training. And like they came in, we talked for a little bit and they walked around. She kind of looked around and opened a couple doors and said, all right, see you. I was like, all right, see you. She's like, cool. She's so much better. She's way better than the first year I had a probation officer. They different levels of this chick. She's coming by every single month, calling me in every few months, having me do a piss test every time. She comes by, I'm doing a piss test. Like, I don't have a drug charge. I don't have a drug problem. Pee in this cup. I'm like, what's going on?
I haven't never been.
Are you serious? That's so fucking unfair. You're chewing up crack and shit. You can crack. Like,
fam, they have never. I'm telling you, I really believe they try to get me to hang myself. I'm telling you, my probation officer, I forgot his name. I don't even know his name. I ain't seen the man since January. I don't even remember his name.
I don't want to say mine because the first year I was on probation,
say the name.
I just said her first name. On a podcast, and like it came out, and like 2 days later she called me up and she goes, Mr. Cox, and I said, yes. She goes, I see you did Concrete, which is the podcast I did. She goes, I see you did Concrete recently. And I said, yeah, I did. She said, Mr. Cox, I don't want to be famous. Do you understand? She said, I would appreciate it if you don't mention my name again. I said, you know what? My bad.
My bad.
I don't know what I was thinking. I'm embarrassed that I need to be nice to this woman. I can't get her on my bad side. Like, I'm embarrassed that you had to call me.
Right.
I don't, I start talking. I don't even realize, half the time I stop thinking. You can, when I realize that, oh, right, the cameras are right there because I straighten up.
Right.
And then as we talk, I'm just talking. And then I realize, oh, wait, you're on. My wife told me you need to straighten up and hold your shoulders back.
So the posture.
Yeah. Straighten your arm. I wore this orange. I don't usually wear orange, but I wore orange for you.
Well, you want to make me feel like I'm a J? What's up with you, man? I'm already trying to make sure I don't say the wrong thing. That's why all my stories like, I don't get better with it.
We might already have a problem just because we said the word drugs so many times. It was being monetized.
Right.
And then you said, I like Trump. That's probably, algorithm's going to be like, oh, no. I already feel like I'm shadow banned because I had some Trump paintings up here.
Yeah. Out of here.
Shadowed. Yeah, I had to take those down. I don't know what happened. I feel like I got shadow bans for that.
Probably did.
It's fine. It's fine. All right. Anything else? We good? So you want me to put any links in the description box?
Yeah.
So, like we can put links in the description box. Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Put some links. What are the links for your book?
Yeah,
what else?
The book.
Do you have the book on Amazon?
I have the ebook version on Amazon, but I got another website for the book in my merch. So the link for that will be followingtheconscious.world for the link for that, and just on all social media platforms. I am Travis Luke. The one thing that I was trying to get rid of, I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep it. Like,
why don't you have this in a physical copy on Amazon?
You want the truth?
Yeah.
I be bullshitting.
Oh, okay.
They need to get it put in.
Yeah.
I really.
Oh, listen, I talked to a guy who told me, oh, they don't do that. And I went, what? He goes, no, on Amazon you can only do e-copy. I was like, no, you can do it. Go back into the KDP or whatever it's called. Go back on there. There's a button you can click.
That's it.
And he came back. He was like, I can't believe it. He's like,
I got to do it. I'm gonna do it while I'm on the road if I can get my iPhone to work. But I'm gonna do it while I'm on the road. But one thing I can say, even just being back around you, just listening to you, like, I see some steps that I need to take to get my shit, you know what I mean, push forward to it, because I think I get stuck in trying to do too many things at one time, you know what I mean? Instead of just getting tunnel vision on one thing or two things, and just staying focused on it. That's what I'm gonna work on, making sure I get to put on well, the ebook version is on Amazon, but I'm gonna make sure I get the hard copy put on. Because I know it's just like it's just a button.
All right. I appreciate you guys watching the podcast. If you liked it, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified. Leave me a comment in the comment section, and I'll try and respond. Also, if you're interested in contacting Travis, we're going to leave his contact information and the link to the book and to his merch at his website and everything else in the description box. Really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. Also, if you really liked the podcast, please consider joining my Patreon. It's only $10. That's really very little money. I appreciate it, especially nowadays. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. See ya.